Chapter 313. In the boundless universe, the eternal battlefield was in chaos. The primal Chaos Emperor led the remaining 20 dead spirits and wiped out dozens of starfields. Everywhere they went, they were like locusts. No matter how much life force the primal Chaos Emperor devoured, it couldn't compare to the damage caused by the Pangolin Great Emperor. At this moment, he only wanted to devour all the quasi-emperors on the eternal battlefield and recover his life force. Half a month later, many dead spirits flew over the eternal battlefield and appeared at the periphery. They faced off against the primal massacre god, the Tao realm experts, and the imperial sage monarch experts. 300 quasi-emperors, 3,000 false emperors, hundreds of thousands of divine martial experts, 100,000 primal massacre gods, 30,000 combat divisions, and 3,000 special bloodlines. They stood firm at the edge of the battlefield. Behind them was the ancestral land of the human race. They couldn't retreat. Wuxia, the Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor, held his dragon horn and blew gently, commanding the heroes of the 10,000 races. A million-strong army gathered. The Quasi-Emperors held their swords and prepared to fight to the death. The broken body of the primal Chaos Emperor was constantly decaying. His life force was being lost much faster than the life force he was gaining. At this moment, facing the countless heroes who were unafraid of death, he sneered. A bunch of ants dare to lead a group of people to stop this emperor. The primal Chaos Emperor sneered. At least we are as proud as Tai Yang. Zhang Yunxiao roared. His battle intent surged. Even if he knew that he would die, he wasn't willing to retreat. Kill them. Kill them all. This time, we will wipe out the Tao realm experts of the human race and the sage monarch experts of the 10,000 races. The primal Chaos Emperor ordered. The 20 dead spirits shattered the sky and pounced. Both sides were mortal enemies. There was no need for words. Boom! The immemorial battlefield fell into chaos. The immemorial array was activated, and regardless of friend or foe, anyone who touched it would die. The 50,000 people of the ancient Death God Legion surrounded an undead spirit and fought in a frenzy, using their lives to exchange for a single wound. The combat divisions were the same. They attacked without caring about casualties. Corpses fell constantly and blood stained the ground. It was like a vast sea roaring. Most of the people with special constitutions were at the divine martial realm. When they unleashed their full strength, almost 1,000 of them could stop a single undead spirit. Moreover, the sun and moon appeared at the same time. Heavenly dragons roared as they fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth split. The Azure Dragon bloodline had more than 300 divine martial experts, 8 fake emperors, 2 low-level Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperors, and the Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor who was at the pinnacle. They were the strongest fighting force. Just 300 of them were enough to stop 2 undead spirits. Each of the Sage Monarch clans had sent out 3,000 experts, each of whom was fighting a single dead spirit. The 300 combat emperors did not attack the undead spirits. Instead, they surrounded the primal Chaos Emperor. The 3 monarch weapons, including the sky battling spear, were all awakened. The monarch's aura was vast and mighty. Only great emperors could go against monarch weapons. Although monarch weapons were not as powerful as great emperors, they were equivalent to great emperors themselves. A bunch of ants. The primal Chaos Emperor was disdainful. With a wave of his hand, he controlled time and space, and even the heavens and earth froze. He grabbed a few boundary emperors and directly devoured their vitality. The boundary emperors were powerless against a primal Chaos Emperor. Boom! The battle sky spear erupted and pierced through the void, wanting to kill the half-crippled primal Chaos Emperor. At the same time, the Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor blew his dragon horn. His voice was majestic and shook the world. It was as if a divine dragon had descended, and its might shook the heavens. A divine dragon phantom crossed the ages and descended into the world, directly sweeping towards the Primal Chaos Emperor. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, the Primal Chaos Emperor did not fight with the experts with Emperor weapons. His figure suddenly disappeared, and in the next breath, he appeared behind another Boundary Emperor. He attacked with a sure-kill move, forcibly stealing his vitality. All the Boundary Emperors were furious. Some Boundary Emperors directly self-destructed when they got close to the Primal Chaos Emperor. It was a completely unafraid of death. Boom! The self-destruction of the Boundary Emperors was terrifying. Even the other Boundary Emperors in the endless universe were sent flying. The shockwave rushed into the galaxy, shaking the Aeon battlefield. Wails filled the world as countless living beings howled in rage. The endless universe was too weak. Facing a Primal Chaos Emperor, they could only wait for death. Some Boundary Emperors did not even have the chance to self-destruct and were instantly devoured. In the blink of an eye, less than 200 Boundary Emperors were left. Seal this space for me. The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor roared. He was unwilling to accept the Boundary Emperors dying one by one, which increased the vitality and battle strength of the Primal Chaos Emperor. He decided to use his strongest battle strength by self-destructing. Even if he could not destroy the Primal Chaos Emperor, he could still severely injure him. It would give the others a chance to kill him. Boom! The Battle Sky Spear broke free from Zhang Yunxiao's restraint and stabbed into the void. Battle intent filled the sky, and divine light shot out in all directions, sealing the surroundings. Two extreme Dao battle swords followed closely, completely sealing the battle zone. More than 200 Boundary Emperors worked together to strengthen the seal with the Emperor weapons. Let's die together. The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor's blood stained the sky. His final burst of power actually shot out a terrifying Emperor aura. The Dragon Horn and Dragon Aura shot out and expanded together, charging towards the Primal Chaos Emperor with the Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor. The Primal Chaos Emperor did not expect the Endless Universe's counterattack to be so crazy this time. He wanted to tear the void and rush out of the battle zone, but with the 3 extreme Dao Emperor weapons and the eruption of more than 200 Boundary Emperors, how could his half-dead body tear it apart? Boom! With a violent explosion, the Dragon Horn exploded. The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor also self-destructed. Dragon blood flowed through the Milky Way, shining brightly. The entire endless universe could clearly see that the eternal battlefield was like a giant fireball, spreading out for thousands of miles. PFFF. The Primal Chaos Emperor's corpse was blasted into pieces. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood, and his emperor clothes were tattered. He was even more miserable than a beggar. At this moment, his anger was overflowing, and his battle strength dropped again. Swish! Dominating heaven followed closely into the sealed battle zone. Without even saying a word, he directly self-destructed. Swish! 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 The Boundary Emperors seemed to have seen hope as they rushed in one after another. Ancient Massacre God. Even if I die, I won't regret it. Qin Hangyan's Wuxian rushed in one after another. They directly self-destructed and died on the spot. Tragic. Almost all the Boundary Emperors were annihilated. Xia Qintian, Zhang Yunxiao, the Archaic Mysteries sect leader, one after another, the great Tao rumbled, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. Dark clouds covered time and space. The Primal Chaos Emperor was incomparably miserable. He kept dodging, and his Emperor aura was vast. Some people had just rushed in but were killed on the spot before they could self-destruct. You bunch of ants, die for me. The wounds that you have inflicted on me, I will take revenge 1,000,000 times in your race. The Primal Chaos Emperor roared. If this place wasn't sealed by the extreme Dao Monarch weapon, he would have already killed his way into the human race's territory. There were less than 30 Boundary Emperors left, and they were in despair. 300 boundary emperors, and most of them were the clan leaders of their respective races. With their peak battle strength, they couldn't even kill a crippled great emperor. Idiots, at least they are not pigs raised in captivity. Regardless of whether they are dead or alive, they are unyielding. Unlike you, who are just pigs in other people's pigsty. You have no dignity and no bottom line. When other people want to eat your meat, you have to cut your meat for them to eat. You want to seek immortality like this? What a joke. The experts of the insane sect and the geniuses of the endless universe were all here. Unwilling to hide behind, the parrot stood on Di Longtian's shoulder and sneered coldly. Insane sect. I was just about to look for you, but I didn't expect you to deliver yourselves to me. The primal Chaos Emperor's eyes shot out a terrifying cold light. He swept his gaze across the crowd and asked coldly, "Where is Yi Qinghan? That bastard dared to attack me, I will crush his bones and scatter his ashes today. My master has gone to your hometown, you idiot primal Chaos Emperor. When you see your grandpa divine bird, why don't you come over and kowtow?" The parrot sneered and said disdainfully. The primal Chaos Emperor's blood boiled, and he was almost angered to death. He pointed at the parrot and trembled, not knowing what to say. After a long time, the primal Chaos Emperor finally reacted. He frowned and asked coldly, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" The remaining boundary emperors were stunned. They didn't know what era the primal Chaos Emperor was. He had died of old age in the Forbidden Land, but his soul was still there, and he had become an undead spirit. Almost no one knew his name, but the parrot knew it. How did it know? The parrot's eyes shone brightly. It was ready to scam someone again, but this time it was a great emperor. It grinned and said, "Little thing, you don't even remember me. Do you still remember the Tianyun death god? Tianyun, that bastard, I will tear him apart sooner or later. I don't care who you are. Today, you have blasphemed the emperor's prestige. I will make sure you die without a burial place." The primal Chaos Emperor was furious. He tore at the shackles, wanting to break out and kill the parrot. Whoosh, the parrot squatted on the emperor's sword and rushed into the void, cursing at the primal Chaos Emperor. "You are an idiot. If you have the ability, come after me. You won't be able to catch up with me even if you have 2 legs. Roar." The primal Chaos Emperor was so angry that his blood erupted. He didn't even care about his life. He used his last bit of life force and erupted with all his strength, tearing apart the shackles. A giant hand that covered the sky tore through space and time and grabbed at the parrot. The parrot's feathers stood on end. It roared at the emperor's sword, "Go. Fly according to the route I told you before." Whoosh, the emperor's sword carried the parrot and rushed into the primitive universe. There was no life there, and there was despair everywhere. Even great emperors would go there to train, search for opportunities, and forge emperor weapons. The primal Chaos Emperor missed, but he hated the parrot to the bone. He grabbed 2 boundary emperors and swallowed them to replenish some of his life force. Then, he madly charged at the parrot. The parrot was afraid that he wouldn't chase after it, so it turned and cursed, "You idiot primal chaos. So what if I blaspheme you? Can you bite me? Come after me. Come on, I'll let you have a pair of wings. If you can catch me, you can call me Grandpa Divine Bird. I want you dead." The primal Chaos Emperor ignored the boundary emperors behind him. He directly cut off space and time, wanting to stop the parrot. The emperor's sword was extremely fast. It pierced through the void and directly entered the primitive universe. The primal Chaos Emperor followed closely behind, leaving the boundary emperors looking at each other. "What are you standing there for? Kill them. Completely stop this group of dead spirits." Xia Ziluo went crazy. Clutching the Yellow Springs diagram, she directly pounced at a dead spirit and roared, "Grasp the heavens." Boom! Space and time were distorted by her. The yellow spring's hell diagram wrapped around her golden body, allowing her to act without restraint. She absorbed all the spirit chi within a radius of 10,000 miles and tightly grasped the body of a dead spirit. The sky-covering palm continued to collapse as the dead spirit madly struggled. All of the 100 battle kings appeared. They surrounded the dead spirit and launched their strongest attacks without any regard for their lives. Chapter 314. Heaven's Equal Monkey King, Long Qiong, Yang Zhan, Xian Jiutian, Shi Gu, Yang Zhan, Ruyu Tianchen. Although their battle prowess was slightly inferior to that of a pseudo-emperor or a perfection-stage divine martial expert, the lethality of their attacks wasn't any weaker than theirs. Boom! Hundreds of experts attacked at the same time. The sun and moon were captured by Muyu Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue, along with Xia Ziluo's giant hand. Si Ling was completely submerged. Roar! A bunch of ignorant brats dared to fight against this emperor. Si Ling was terrifying. He grabbed the heaven-raising war staff and sent Heaven's Equal Monkey King flying. Heaven and earth boundless, brick invincible, ancient divine artifact, who can compete? Shi Gu controlled the golden brick, which kept growing and smashed into Si Ling's head. The pseudo-apex emperor weapon's killing power wasn't small, directly taking away half of Si Ling's life. Dragon Subduing Seal. Li Jiuchong formed a seal and activated the Dragon Subduing Seal. It was as if heaven and earth were about to be suppressed. Taking advantage of the fact that Si Ling was a bit dizzy from being smashed by Shi Gu, he smashed over. Kill. Xia Qiue couldn't sense Xia Qintian's aura. Tears of blood flowed as she became one with her sword, piercing through the void and smashing into Si Ling's chest. Si Ling was a perfect quasi-emperor. Even if his battle power had dropped, it wasn't something a group of juniors could break free from. Si Ling tore apart Xia Ziluo's shackles. His aura erupted, and his emperor aura and death chi destroyed dozens of experts. Most of the 100 battle kings fell back, and those with weaker bodies were torn apart. Their vitality was erased by the death chi, and they died on the spot. The ancient massacre god had stopped 8 undead spirits. A total of 100,000 people had stopped 8 powerful undead spirits. The ancient massacre god was almost completely wiped out. There were less than 50,000 undead spirits left, and he had killed 3 of them. The price he had paid was not small. It wasn't just the combat division that was as tragic as them. The casualty rate of the combat division was more than 60%. More than half of those with special constitutions died, causing heaven and earth to wail. The celestial wolf race was almost completely wiped out. This was the Saint Monarch race. The celestial wolf race's pseudo-emperor roared, and his mournful voice resounding through the mountains and rivers. More than half of the heavenly dragon army of the heavenly dragon holy court was annihilated, and the eternal cloud sky holy grounds 3,000 elite inner court disciples were annihilated. Even the great elder was killed. They were heroes. They died resolutely, smashing into the eternal battlefield. The people of the world would remember this battle even after 1,000,000 years. The remaining 30-odd boundary emperors joined the battle. They were so crazy that their eyes turned red. They grabbed onto a dead spirit and self-destructed. I've lived long enough. All of you will die with me. Boom. Another boundary emperor self-detonated and killed a dead spirit. The aftermath killed hundreds of experts, but no one was willing to retreat. There were still 4 undead spirits left, including Lightning, the speed-type quasi-emperor undead spirit. His silhouette flickered as he continued to ambush the experts, not wanting to fight to the death with the quasi-emperors. Large batches of divine martial experts fell under Lightning's hands. Lightning's battle prowess grew stronger and stronger. His battle prowess was achieved by stepping on countless corpses. More than 10 boundary emperors pounced toward Lightning in a frenzy. They hated him to the core and were prepared to join forces to kill this strongest existence. The remaining boundary emperors each went for a dead spirit. The three extreme Dao monarch weapons unleashed their full power. The sky battling spear instantly pierced through a dead spirit. The dead spirit's life force dissipated, and it died on the spot. Ring! The myriad race's emperor sword also killed a dead spirit. The last one was killed by the human race's emperor weapon. Lightning was the only dead spirit left. Ring, 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 the three extreme Dao monarch weapons were enraged. They controlled the heaven and earth from three different directions and forced him into the depths of the eternal battlefield. The Eternal Era's array was activated. The Emperor Patterns with terrifying killing intent tore off one of his legs. The life force that he had gathered with great difficulty was destroyed again. The sky battling spear and the other extreme Dao monarch weapons instantly caught up and killed him. The 30-odd undead spirits that came out were all annihilated. However, they brought a devastating disaster to the human race and the myriad race. Almost all the divine martial experts were annihilated. The ancient massacre gods had less than 30,000, and the combat division was less than 5,000. 3 of the 12 Saint Royal races were annihilated. 4 of the Saint Royal races were severely injured. The Azure Dragon race suffered heavy losses. It would take them at least 10,000 years to recover. Everyone, get ready. That undead spirit emperor will come back sooner or later. It will be worth it no matter how many casualties we suffer. A human boundary emperor said mournfully. Everyone was in despair. The 30-odd undead spirit emperor had already caused irreparable damage to the endless universe. When the primal chaos emperor returned, the endless universe would definitely be destroyed. This was the tragedy of having no emperors. They were at the mercy of others. Kuang Zong and the other experts of the younger generation gathered together. They looked at the untainted land and clenched their fists. They were all waiting for the good news from the parrot. Where did that little bird lure that emperor to? The remaining experts looked at the people of Kuang Zong. Everyone knew that the stupid bird was too deceitful. It could always kill people when it attacked. The Qilin tiger and countless elites of the human race had been deceived. Everyone was hoping that this time, the untainted emperor would also be half dead. Perhaps the endless universe still had a chance. Li Jiuchong and the others shook their heads. They had no idea what the parrot was trying to do. This was not its style at all. In the past, it would never provoke an emperor. This time, it actually took the initiative to provoke and lure away the strongest emperor of the endless universe. It was unbelievable. In the untainted universe, dead stars were constantly exploding. The emperor captured a huge star and smashed it at the emperor's guardian sword. However, the parrot continued to provoke it. It cursed at the primal chaos emperor. It had never been scolded like this in its life. At this moment, the primal chaos emperor was so angry that he was dizzy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The emperor's guardian sword was extremely fast. It moved the stars and streaked past the meteors. The emperor's aura rushed in all directions and protected the parrot. The parrot could provoke the primal chaos emperor without any scruples. Little bastard, you can't even catch up with this divine bird. What are you doing? Come and kiss my butt if you have the guts. Come quickly. How did you become a great emperor with this little strength? Bah! Catch up with your grandpa divine bird. I can suppress you with a little claw. The parrot raised its head and pointed at the primal chaos emperor angrily. Poof! Ah! I know who you are. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. The primal chaos emperor was so angry that he vomited blood. Death chi filled the air and covered the sky. The untainted universe was in chaos. A powerful untainted universe beast was like a small star. It waved its huge forelimb and smashed a star. It then charged at the primal chaos emperor. Boom! The primal chaos emperor was burning with anger. He punched a hole through the untainted universe beast's head and devoured its vitality. His combat strength rose again. "I can't believe you recognize your grandpa divine bird," said the parrot, laughing cockily. "Well then, why don't you come and pay your respects? You're an old bird. You're a bastard born of a violent phoenix. You should have died back then, you bastard." The primal Chaos Emperor roared and exposed the parrot's background. The parrot looked as if its butt had been set on fire. It jumped up and roared, "Fuck your mother. My father is a romantic, elegant, and charming divine bird that everyone loves. Flowers bloom when they see him. My mother automatically submits to him. How is that strong and violent? You old idiot, my father didn't rape your woman, nor did he rape your mother. You old bastard, you actually dare to slander my supreme father. Only that bastard of a father of yours would be so shameless as to spout such nonsense. He would even lie to his own son. In reality, who doesn't know that your father raped an underage rank 9 divine phoenix to give birth to a bastard like you?" The primal Chaos Emperor was like a shrew. He scolded the parrot, completely forgetting that he was a high and mighty great emperor. "Ha ha ha, you're just jealous of my father. My father said that you're too ugly and that you couldn't find a wife in your entire life. In the end, you wanted to rape a mystical dragon, but that mystical dragon turned out to be a male. Instead, you were raped by it. That's why you're slandering him everywhere. You don't have to explain." Poof! The primal Chaos Emperor coughed up blood again. He staggered and almost fell into the depths of the untainted universe. The parrot's words were too vicious. Even a boundary emperor couldn't stand such words, let alone a high and mighty great emperor. "Ha ha, if you don't explain, I'll take it as a yes. My father was right." The parrot mocked. The emperor's sword was trembling. This bird was indeed infuriating. It just told him not to explain because he wouldn't believe it even if he did. Now that he didn't explain, it turned around and said that no one could stand it. No wonder the primal Chaos Emperor was willing to give up his life to chase after him. "You're pissing me off." The primal Chaos Emperor stirred up mountains and rivers, trying to stop the Emperor's sword from escaping. The sky-covering hand crushed a star and smashed it forward. The parrot laughed mockingly. It couldn't even be bothered to scold anymore. If it did, it would attract the primal Chaos Emperor's attention. The more it was like this, the more the primal Chaos Emperor didn't want to give up. In the untainted universe, there was no life. Everything was evolving and everything was primitive. In front of them was a huge star field. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Countless lightning bolts gathered and almost drowned the star field. In the lightning region, there was always lightning. Even a boundary emperor would be torn apart if he entered. Even a great emperor had to be careful and didn't dare to disturb the lightning region. However, there were many opportunities here. Many divine metals that had been tempered by lightning were excellent materials for forging fake great emperor weapons. Some divine metals that had been tempered for hundreds of thousands of years could even be used to forge great emperor weapons. "Charge in!" the parrot reminded in a low voice. The emperor's sword's aura stagnated. However, at this time, it could only try its best. Whoosh! The emperor's sword rushed into the lightning region with the parrot and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The primal Chaos Emperor followed closely. He had been here before and knew how dangerous it was. However, he didn't want to retreat at this time. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how he would be slandered by this bird. Everyone had a breath to live, let alone a great emperor. Boom! Lightning struck the great emperor's body and crazily wiped out his life force. At this moment, the emperor's sword was in danger. Whoosh, 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 the great emperor and the emperor's sword shuttled through the lightning. More and more thick lightning bolts appeared and tore the void. If a boundary emperor were to come into contact with them, he would be instantly torn to pieces. The parrot squatted on the emperor's sword's hilt and trembled. It murmured, "Father said that there is the origin of lightning here that can kill a great emperor. Why can't I sense it?" The surroundings were filled with terrifying lightning. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, covering the sky and earth. The parrot was like a headless fly that commanded the emperor's sword to fly around randomly. Chapter 3:15. The outside world was in chaos, but the depths of the ultimate sky sea were peaceful. In the depths of the ultimate sky sea, the sea water roared without end. However, no laws existed, and no one could fly in the ultimate sky sea. In the center of the vast ultimate sky sea, there was an island that never sank. There were trees and birds on it, forming a world of their own. Although they couldn't cultivate, it was rare for them to be peaceful, and they didn't have to worry about being devoured by the dead spirits. The island was huge, with a radius of a few thousand meters. It was lush, with tall mountains and flowing water. A waterfall fell from the sky, and 100 jong tall mountain was rugged in the sky, surrounded by celestial mist. Boom! The sea water slammed against the shore, deafening the ears. Yi Qinghan was awakened by the sound of the waves. His whole body was in pain, and he felt that his soul had left his body. His fingertips moved slightly, and he grabbed the unconscious Emperor Yi. He opened his eyes slightly, and looked at the sky with white clouds and a scorching sun. Ah! Yi Qinghan wanted to move and struggle, but at least 3 of his ribs were broken, and he couldn't use any true essence in his body. Fortunately, the dragon blood wasn't suppressed, and his damaged azure dragon body quickly recovered. However, his face was still pale. His lips were cracked, and he was exposed to the scorching sun. Yi Qinghan didn't know how long he had been unconscious. He struggled to get up, and carried Emperor Yi towards the center of the island, deep in the mountains. Relying on walking, it took more than an hour to cover more than 10 li. Yi Qinghan came to the side of the pool under the waterfall. He didn't dare to use it directly, and first took a willow branch to test it. He found that it wasn't petrified, and he couldn't help but be surprised that there was still life in such a hopeless place. He leaned over the pool and drank a few mouthfuls of water to replenish his water, and then he took some for Emperor Yi. After being replenished, Emperor Yi woke up and found that he couldn't even sense the divine Guqin. However, he could open his eyes, and he was not used to it. "Master, where is this?" Emperor Yi found that his true essence was completely suppressed, and asked in shock. "It should be in the depths of the ultimate sky sea." Zhe Qin had long planned to send the Divine Martial Imperial Codex to this place and completely cut off the inheritance of the Divine Martial Imperial Codex. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. He stared at the blazing sun to determine the direction, but it was useless. He couldn't use his true origin. The seawater of the ultimate heaven sea could instantly petrify a boundary emperor. He could only wait here to die of old age. Emperor Ye's expression changed slightly. In this place, no matter how special one's constitution was, they were all mortals. They were powerless. He couldn't summon his heavy manic saber, nor could he use his universe ring. He couldn't even change his clothes. The 2 of them were dressed in rags and looked like beggars. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. The 2 of them didn't find any large beasts on this deserted island. There were only some birds, not even a single rabbit. However, there were some fish, which didn't completely cut off their vitality. Yi Qinghan searched for a long time and finally found a small cave. It was very flat and could be used as a temporary residence. However, there were no beds or blankets. This kind of place was very cold at night and wasn't suitable for mortals to stay in. Emperor Yi carried some dead branches and leaves and piled them in the cave. Yi Qinghan rushed into the stream and caught some strange fish. They were about the length of a chopstick. This kind of creature hadn't been discovered in the outside world. Yi Qinghan was, after all, an azure dragon body. His physical body was much stronger than the average person's. He forcibly created a stone pot and set it up. He dissected the fish and cleaned it. Then, he started a fire and threw the fish into the pot to cook. There were no ingredients here. Yi Qinghan casually found some herbs and threw them in. He then sat beside the pot and thought about how to leave this place. The situation in the outside world wasn't clear. There were so many children in the crazy sect. Although he didn't have any blood relatives, he still treated them as family. The flame shone on Yi Qinghan's face. His old and strong face was full of helplessness. Soon, the fish began to emit a fragrant aroma. The two of them finally sensed the mortal's desire for food. They used the willow branch as chopsticks and created a wooden spoon. The two of them began to eat. The entire pot of fish was cleanly devoured by the two of them. This kind of fish looked very strange, but it tasted very good. When it entered their stomachs, a warm current flowed through their bodies. After eating, Emperor Ye's face was slightly red. He murmured, "Master, I want to take a bath." Yi Qinghan pointed downstream and said, "Go ahead and take a bath. There's no third person here." Emperor Yi pursed his lips. He took off all his clothes behind a big rock downstream. Then, holding his clothes, he jumped down with a splash. Yi Qinghan listened to the rustling behind him and sighed secretly. He regretted bringing Emperor Yi along. In the outside world, she might be able to prove her Tao and lead the human race to glory. Here, she could only be an ordinary mountain girl, waiting for her beauty to fade away. Currently, Ren Huangyi was already a grown woman. She was 1.7 meters tall, and her skin could be broken with a flick of a finger. Her appearance couldn't be considered peerless, but her temperament was enough to instantly kill any woman. That kind of otherworldly, fresh, and refined charm came from her bones. At this moment, his long hair was draped over his shoulders. His skin was crystal clear. His slender jade hands were constantly wiping his jade arms. His proud figure was buried in the water. He was as beautiful as jade, stunning the world and making all creatures submit to him. "Master, what if we can't go back?" Emperor Yi asked softly. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He said hoarsely, "We can't go back. There's always a way out." "I'm saying if. What if we really can't go back?" Emperor Yi asked expectantly. "Then I'll jump into the ultimate heaven sea. I want to see if this sea water can really turn me to stone instantly." Yi Qinghan was indifferent. With his personality, he definitely wouldn't be content to be trapped here for the rest of his life. Emperor Yi sighed. He knew that his master's stubborn temper couldn't be changed. He thought about how he was also a peerless little beauty. Why wasn't he moved at all? Was it really so good to prove one's Tao? After Emperor Yi finished washing his body, he also washed his clothes. Then, he hung them under the scorching sun to dry. "Master, it's very cold at night. Why don't you take off your clothes, wash them, and use them as a blanket tonight?" Emperor Yi lay behind the huge rock and looked at Yi Qinghan with a mischievous expression. Yi Qinghan frowned. He looked at his immortal sect robes that were tattered. They couldn't even cover his body. If he took them to wash, what would he wear? "Master, don't tell me you're shy. We're the only ones here right now. If you don't wash your clothes and let them dry, you'll freeze to death at night." Emperor Ye's young face revealed a sly smile. His row of tiny teeth sparkled under the sunlight. Yi Qinghan smiled wryly. Emperor Ye's words were very true. Their clothes were covered in dust. Without a blanket at night, they were no longer powerful immortal sect kings. They were mere mortals. It was very easy for them to freeze to death. In the end, Yi Qinghan chose to compromise. He went to the other side of the rock and took off his clothes. He washed all of his clothes and placed them on the rock to dry. The sun was right in the middle of the sky. The light was very good. The two leaned against each other and closed their eyes to rest. As night fell, a cold wind blew. Yi Qinghan's body shivered. He opened his eyes and put on the dried clothes. He stood up and found that Emperor Yi had already put on his clothes. He was collecting large amounts of dried branches and leaves. "Master, these are life-saving items. It's cold at night. We can warm ourselves by the fire." Emperor Ye's face was bright red. Clearly, it was because he had peeked at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He looked at the sensible Emperor Yi and sighed in his heart. He thought to himself, perhaps this is also good. There's no need to be so tired. There's no need to think so much. The red sun disappeared completely. The cold wind became stronger and stronger. The storm came together. It was so cold that Yi Qinghan shivered. The two quickly rushed into the cave. There was a large tree in front of the cave. It blocked the rain from entering, but the temperature inside the cave was very low. It was not suitable for humans to live in. Emperor Ye's teeth chattered. He hugged Yi Qinghan tightly, trying to gain some warmth. Yi Qinghan's heart ached. He took out a flint and kept grinding it. Sparks flew in all directions. They rushed into the dried leaves and ignited them. Fortunately, Emperor Yi had foresight. Otherwise, the two of them would not have been able to survive the first day and would have frozen to death here. Yi Qinghan placed the dried branches one by one on the fire. He was very thrifty. There were not too many dried branches. At most, it would last for 2 days. No one knew how long this damned weather would last. The cold wind rushed into the cave and almost extinguished the fire. Yi Qinghan took off his jacket and put it on Emperor Yi. He gritted his teeth and rushed out. He carried a large rock and blocked half of the cave entrance. Phew, Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He finally felt some warmth. This was not the first time he had experienced this kind of cold. He often experienced it when he was immortal. This feeling made him feel as if he had returned to the past. Emperor Yi spread Yi Qinghan's immortal robe on the dried leaves. He looked up at Yi Qinghan and said, "Master, let us warm ourselves together. Are you still paying attention to the old-fashioned customs at this time?" Yi Qinghan looked at Emperor Yi. His young face was full of craftiness. He forgot about the temporary situation and slowly hugged Emperor Yi. His body temperature rose rapidly and his blood boiled. Yi Qinghan was not a saint. He was a saint. The two of them used the immortal robe as a blanket. They squeezed together. Their hearts pounded against each other. Their handsome faces revealed a trace of awkwardness. "I always thought that Master was a saint. It turns out that you are also immortal." Emperor Yi teased. He looked a little shy, but his heart was happy. The outside world had nothing to do with her. Her only family was Yi Qinghan. The insane sect could be considered half her home. Thump, 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 Yi Qinghan's lips were dry. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He cared about ethics. This had nothing to do with desire. It was just a natural reaction of the original body. Only a heartless and desireless stone would not have any reaction. Emperor Yi looked at Yi Qinghan quietly. She rested her chin on her hands. She was pure and innocent, but she did not know how to get along with a man. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi looked at each other. Their minds were in a mess. They were already in such a desperate situation. The hope of getting out was almost zero. Being able to spend the rest of his life with Emperor Yi might be the best choice. "Master, I think this is good. There are no bad people here. There is no war. There is only us. There are trees, forests, mountains, seas, fishes, and birds. We don't have to worry about divine martial artists or fake emperors coming the next day. Isn't that right?" Emperor Yi smiled. She was pure and did not have high expectations. Nothing could make her happier than being able to spend the rest of her life with the person she liked and cared about. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He also wanted to live a simple and happy life. But what about the insane sect? What about the billions of souls on Owl War Planet? Were they going to abandon them? Yi Qinghan could not do it, but he would not be so selfish. If there was a way to leave one day, he would do his best to return to the imperial domain. Even if he died tragically on the battlefield, he would at least stand tall and not fall. Yi Qinghan did not need to guess. He knew that the imperial domain had become hell on earth. Demons filled the universe. Humans were demons too. In this chaotic world, who could escape the curse of fate? It was warm inside the house. Outside, the cold wind was howling. The sea was churning, and the roar was deafening. Boom, 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 splash, 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 the seawater submerged half of the island and was spreading towards the depths. Everywhere it passed, everything was petrified. At this rate, it would soon reach the cave. Yi Qinghan would not be able to escape this place. The birds cried out mournfully. They sensed danger and kept flying towards the mountains. Chapter 3:16. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi looked at each other. Love had always been illusory and came from the heart. The relationship between master and disciple sublimated at this moment, but no one dared to poke that layer of paper. What Yi Qinghan did not know was that the human race was now in imminent danger. Almost all of their quasi-emperors were dead, and there was a shortage of fake emperors. There were not many divine martial artists left. The 10,000 races suffered heavy losses and all of them retreated. There were only a few people left in the Blue Dragon bloodline. Long Qiong looked at the place where the quasi-emperors of her race had self-destructed and built the fragments of the dragon horn. Tears welled up in her eyes. To the Blue Dragon tribe, this dragon horn was like the emperor's sword of the ancient killing god. It was destroyed just like that. The quasi-emperors of her race died without a complete corpse. The people of the crazy sect were silent. They looked at Long Qiong's back and did not know how to comfort her. Because the human race had suffered even more losses. Now that the ancient killing god had declined, the crazy sect would have a harder time. Qitian Monkey King patted Long Qiong's shoulder to comfort her. This was not the time for the younger generation to fight fiercely. The Celestial Wolf tribe was destroyed, and the Celestial Tiger tribe did not have anyone above the immortal realm left. Only a group of old, weak, sick, and disabled people were left. If they did not support each other, they would definitely be wiped out in the future. At this moment, in the territory of the myriad races, in an endless mountain range, a small golden pangolin was like a small golden dragon. The mountain couldn't stop it at all. It could freely shuttle through the mountain rocks. To it, the earth was the warmest home. Even though it was young, its power was like lightning, fast to the extreme. It continuously devoured weaker creatures, and as time went on, it continuously grew stronger. Many patterns appeared in its sea of consciousness, and the great Tao was clearly visible. It could use many secret techniques without needing to learn them. The golden pangolin sped through the mountain range. It did not alarm any powerful creatures and was slowly growing. If the quasi-emperors knew about it, they would definitely take it into their own race and raise it. Every force was changing. The Celestial Wolf tribe and the Celestial Tiger tribe had always been like fire and water, but now, they had come to a mutual understanding. They had migrated their tribes, and were looking out for each other. They didn't ask for much, just a few hundred years. After all, they were sage monarchs. Not only did the two clans do these things, they also sent the most outstanding bloodlines of their clans to the deep mountains and old forests, releasing them into the primitive forest, allowing them to develop freely. Even if one day, their main clans were destroyed, they could still continue their bloodline. It was the same for the human race. The Dao Realm Holy Lands were in a difficult situation. They didn't have much combat power left and couldn't protect the elites of their race. They sent people to send the elites to remote star regions in the middle of the night. They just wanted to hold on to their bloodline and revive after the great calamity. In the Zhan clan's Dao realm, Yang Zhan's face was sad. He held the sky battle spear in his hand and carried a baby less than a year old in his arms. He said to a divine martial expert with a hoarse voice, "You have the highest cultivation in the Zhan clan. Send Zhan Yun to the 9-continent star region. From today onwards, unless the clan summons you, you are not allowed to return. If anything happens to Yun, you won't be able to see your ancestors." The strongest divine martial expert of the Zhan clan cried. He respectfully took the child and kowtowed dozens of times before turning to leave. At this moment, who wouldn't despair? The Zhan clan's Dao realm still had an extreme Dao divine weapon left. They were already thinking of a way to leave a way out for their own clan. What about the other sects? Wan Guyuntian, the Special Physique Alliance, the Heaven Secret sect, that night, they sent away 1 or 2 children. The oldest was less than 10 years old, and the youngest was just born. They all left the imperial domain and fled to the edge of the endless universe. They fled as far as they could. The further they were from the imperial domain, the safer they would be. The endless universe was filled with sorrow. The heavenly Tao rumbled. Many clans left their homes and fled to the distance. The weak who were abandoned by their own clans cried out in pain. Unfortunately, no one pitied them because no one could protect themselves. In the Qianlong clan, the atmosphere was sad. The clan leader gave an order. Send away all direct descendants who are 10 years old and below 30. Those who are 5th grade and above. The rest stay in the ancestral land. The Qianlong clan has been here for thousands of years. We can't abandon the ancestral land. Even if we die in battle, this star will be the place of the souls of the Qianlong clan. It was like this in a chaotic world. Without the great emperor, who could escape the shackles of fate? Boom! Whoosh! On the deserted island of the celestial ocean, a deafening thunder set off thousands of waves. Then, a bolt of lightning comparable to the heavenly dragon pierced through the galaxy and struck the mountain peak. The entire mountain shook, and the peak was almost penetrated. The fire burned, but it was soon drowned by the torrential rain. Lightning came one after another, and thunder rumbled in the sky. The power of the celestial ocean seemed to want to destroy Emperor Yi. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the waves of the celestial ocean were terrifying. It was about to drown the entire deserted island. There seemed to be powerful ferocious beasts at the bottom of the sea, causing the seawater to churn and petrify everything. It was a sign that the ferocious beasts were about to be born. The Zither deity's crimson demon form. Only the first Zither emperor had unleashed its full combat power, sweeping through thousands of enemies. Even the great emperor had to bow and submit to it. The 2 later Zither deities' crimson demon form did not activate it. At least, they did not unleash their full combat power. Emperor Ye's crimson demon form was stimulated by the azure dragon's essence. Divine light shone all over his body, and the divine Zither imprint swam all over his body. Even though his spiritual ether had recovered, he could open his eyes without any restrictions. His eyes were as vast as the stars. The next day, the sun was still shining brightly on the island. It was as if it had not rained at all last night. However, the mountain peak had been pierced through by lightning. If it had not been for the torrential rain, the entire island would have been burned to ashes. A ray of morning light shone into the cave. Yi Qinghan squinted his eyes and looked outside the cave. He felt the spiritual ether in his body again. He had recovered at least 1/10 of it. His soul could also feel the existence of some natural laws. However, if he wanted to fly, he was still far from it. Emperor Yi was also awakened. The 2 of them looked at each other. Yi Qinghan looked at Emperor Yi with heartache. His desire to protect him reached its peak, and he smiled faintly. Yi Qinghan looked at the pitiful Emperor Yi. In the end, he could not bear to continue torturing him. He put on the brand new immortal sect Taoist robe on her body. He also put on his own clothes. With spiritual ether, he quickly came to the shore of the ultimate heaven sea. He looked at the endless sea and took a deep breath. Emperor Yi came behind him. He looked at the back view that was filled with vicissitudes and sadness. He was secretly sad. Yi Qinghan could not forget the scar and the dead Jian Shui. Master, we will go back. We will definitely be able to take revenge. I can feel the natural laws of the great Tao. It is very clear. As long as I recover my cultivation, the ultimate heaven sea water will not be able to block my movement of spiritual ether. I can use the spatial laws to leave this place. Emperor Yi walked forward and hugged Yi Qinghan's waist. The Zither Immortal's crimson demon body, Zither string body, pure heart, and demon body were the three of them. No one was more terrifying than her. With the pure heart, nothing could block her from seeing the natural laws of the world. Not even the ultimate heaven sea water. Yi Qinghan's perception of the natural laws of the world was very vague. Especially the great Tao, he could not feel it at all. He was considered a top monster in the world. However, compared to Emperor Yi, he was still far behind. Although Ren Huangyi said that he could sense the great Tao of origin, Yi Qinghan didn't have much confidence that he could cross the endless sea. No one knew how wide the ultimate heaven sea was. If he ran out of true essence and there was no spiritual qi in the air, he wouldn't be able to replenish true essence. If he fell into the ultimate heaven sea, even a great emperor would be petrified. Time. It was very urgent. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. He knew that the insane sect was very dangerous outside, but he could not do anything. That feeling of helplessness almost made him collapse. It was just like Xiao Zhanqing in the past. He wanted to protect himself, but he did not have the strength. It was a shame. If the insane sect was destroyed, even if he could prove his Tao one day, it would be an imperfect Tao. The outside world was indeed very dangerous. In the Thunder region, the parrot finally found the location of the Thunder origin. It guided the Emperor's sword to rush over. In the center of the Thunder region, a ball of lightning crossed the void. It was at least the size of a fist. It did not seem powerful, but the energy it contained could instantly destroy a great emperor. Once the Thunder origin exploded, the entire Thunder region would be in chaos. It could even affect the entire chaos and the endless universe. The parrot took a detour to the back of the Thunder origin. It raised its eyebrows and looked around. There was no lightning nearby. It was the safest place within a few hundred meters. However, the parrot was in a dilemma. How could it kill the Chaos Emperor without hurting itself? The Chaos Emperor's clothes were ragged. He had been attacked by lightning many times along the way, but he did not die. He was now on the verge of exploding. He looked at the parrot and smiled cruelly. "Why aren't you running? My dad was right. You're an idiot. I have no idea what kind of gold you ate to have such good luck. You actually managed to prove your Tao." The parrot curled its lips and pointed at the Thunder origin. "Idiot, what do you think this is? All I have to do is fart and I'll trigger the Thunder origin and blast you to pieces." The Chaos Emperor was shocked. He coldly looked at the Thunder origin. All the hair on his body stood on end. The seemingly calm Thunder origin actually made him feel the aura of death. "If I die, you won't live either," the Chaos Emperor coldly said. "Tch, this divine bird is the future king of beasts. How could I die prematurely?" The parrot's eyes flashed. After thinking for a moment, it still couldn't think of a good solution. It could only stamp its little claws and signal for the Emperor's sword to guard this place. It then scampered out of the Thunder region. The Chaos Emperor was about to give chase when the Emperor's sword trembled and attacked the Thunder Origin. "Why don't you stay and accompany me?" The Emperor's sword spirit's voice was hoarse and filled with vicissitudes of life. Its voice contained a terrifying will that left no room for argument. The Chaos Emperor was stunned. He looked at the Emperor's sword vigilantly and said coldly, "You have a sword body. You can live forever and protect the human race. Do you think it's worth it to die with me?" The parrot constantly dodged and pounced out of the Thunder region. Its speed was so fast that it was almost pierced by the lightning several times. Fortunately, its luck was heaven-defying and it successfully rushed out of the Thunder region. Boom! Whoosh! The Thunder region flashed with lightning and thunder, instantly erupting. Its aura surged into the galaxy and suppressed the universe. The parrot's feathers stood on end. It couldn't care less anymore. It used its strongest strength and innate talent to instantly disappear from the Chaos universe. The Thunder Origin was triggered by the Emperor's sword. The terrifying Thunder Origin transformed into tens of thousands of giant dragons that instantly drowned the Emperor's sword and the Chaos Emperor, tearing apart the Emperor's sword body in the Chaos Emperor's Tao body. Ah! The Chaos Emperor's blood stained the Thunder region. His physical body was directly penetrated. Hundreds of giant dragons tore at his body, tearing it into pieces. A strand of Essence blood wanted to restore his physical body, but his vitality was instantly suppressed. He could only roar in anger and didn't even have the strength to curse. The Chaos Emperor wasn't immortal. He could die. At this moment, he was terrified and frantically dodged. However, the entire Thunder region was in chaos. The aura surged into the galaxy and instantly destroyed all his vitality. A Chaos Emperor fell. The Thunder Origin was too strong. It was so strong that even the Chaos Emperor couldn't resist it. The Thunder Origin that had been gathered for hundreds of thousands or even millions of years was invincible. There was nothing it couldn't destroy. Roar! The Emperor's sword body was penetrated by the Thunder Origin and broke into two. Then, it was surrounded by lightning. One after another, the Guardian sword that had protected the human race for millions of years was torn into pieces. It fell into a lonely star and the sword hilt pierced into a rock. The sword spirit was obliterated, but for the human race, it didn't complain. The Emperor's sword had protected the human race for its entire life. At this moment, it was gone. Although it wasn't part of the human race, it was more worthy of respect than most of the human race. It fought earth-shattering battles, but it left quietly. Only the mournful cries of the heaven and earth were sending it off. The Emperor's sword was also destroyed. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Wind and snow intersected. 1,000,000 miles of the Chaos universe turned white. A solemn and magnificent aura rushed into the clouds. No one dared to profane it. Chapter 317. The lightning region was drowned. The terrifying source of lightning was indestructible, nothing could stand in its way. Whether it was the monarch weapon or the great Emperor Tao body, they all turned into nothingness. The human sovereign sword and the great Emperor perished together. The Guardian sword ended its mission and used its final glory to protect the legacy of the human race. In the first wave of attack, the Forbidden Grounds were completely annihilated. This was under the circumstances where the human race had no great emperor. The Forbidden Grounds suffered heavy losses, but the Endless Universe suffered even more. Two extreme monarch weapons, including the Guardian sword, close to 300 great emperors, 70 to 80,000 ancient killing gods, more than 2,000 physiques, and more than 20,000 combat division experts were all killed. The three Saint Royal races were annihilated, and the Azure Dragon race even exploded their dragon horns. The Endless Universe was silent, and so was the Forbidden Grounds. The death of the Chaos Emperor shocked the dead spirits in the Forbidden Grounds. Even Great Emperor Fu Su was shocked. A great emperor was indeed a great emperor. Monarch weapons couldn't kill him. Even if the weapon exploded, it could only injure him by 20%. As for the great emperors, no matter how many of them came, they were just there to replenish the great emperor's life force. The parrot killed the dead spirit great emperor. The great emperors were shocked. This was simply impossible. However, the great Tao of heaven and earth rumbled, causing a phenomenon. A heavenly dragon soared into the sky and a divine phoenix spread its wings. This was the phenomenon of a great emperor's death. The Chaos Emperor was indeed dead. He died because he chased after the parrot. Now, many people were a bit afraid of this lowly parrot. It was too much of a scammer. Scamming the younger generation was one thing, but now, it had even scammed the undead emperor to death. Was there anyone it couldn't scam to death? The parrot used up all its energy and came back trembling. When it saw everyone, it raised its head and said, "This divine bird's body shook and that lousy great emperor was destroyed by me. However, the human sovereign sword can't be returned." "I'm sorry." Everyone looked at each other. They couldn't laugh at this moment. The endless universe didn't have the joy of victory. This calamity was too tragic. More than half of the divine martial experts fell, less than 10 great emperors survived, and almost all of the fake great emperors were annihilated. The Tao realm experts of the sacred grounds had declined, there were no experts to guard them, no monarch weapons to protect them. The difference in strength between them and the hidden clans was too great. When the parrot saw that everyone wasn't in a good mood, it wanted to be cocky. But now, it was no longer in the mood. It flew back to Di Longtian's shoulder and said, "Children, little Yezi left you to me. Come and play with me in the depths of the eternal battlefield. This divine bird wants to properly train you." Everyone dispersed. Those from the Tao realm holy lands all went into hiding. Only the true young kings remained in the Aeon battlefield, preparing to risk their lives to temper themselves and enter the depths of the Aeon battlefield. The aristocratic families in the endless universe who were active at the front lines were all silent. However, the hidden aristocratic families actually came out. Even the Tao realm holy lands had to step aside. They were extremely strong and wanted to lead the human race, but they were met with unprecedented resistance. Even if they were forced to lower their heads, they weren't sincere towards those people. Once the Tao realm holy lands were restored, they would definitely betray them. The cultivators of the insane sect had all entered the Aeon battlefield, ignoring the outside world. In the forbidden grounds, dead spirit was silent. There was no great emperor in the human race. The primal Chaos Emperor had fallen. None of the first batch of people who went out came back alive. Guichenzi was indifferent, but his heart was struggling. There were some emotions in his eyes. Send someone to investigate how the human race killed the primal Chaos Emperor. Guichenzi, you are most familiar with the human race. You go. Bright Moon Emperor said coldly. Guichenzi's fingertips trembled. He stepped out of the forbidden grounds and charged towards the human race. Bright Moon Emperor's lips curled up. There was some anticipation in his eyes. If the human race really found a way to kill the great emperor, the endless universe might still have hope. At most, he would die with Bright Moon Emperor. The remaining Divine Fire Emperor could only be left to the human race. At this moment, a large number of true invincible kings appeared in the endless universe. Many of them were not inferior to the heaven-equal Monkey King. They became powerful candidates to prove their Tao. Xian Sect, Yinyang Sect, Divine Ghost Sect, Diwu Family, Juxian Manor, Remnant Sect, almost all of the aristocratic clans had experts of their own, especially the school of Yinyang. The chief disciples of the 8 great clans all had cultivation bases comparable to Yang Zhan's. Some were even in the divine martial realm, and were less than 500 years old. Compared to mortals, they were only in their 20s. The Remnant Sect, an unknown sect, suddenly had 3 inheritors of the martial arts Remnant Sect. They swept their way and no one could stand up to them. Many hidden aristocratic families came for the insane sect. The Yinyang sect, Xian sect, and Divine Ghost sect had a clear goal. They were looking for Yi Qinghan and eliminating the insane sect. The top 10 experts of the Xian sect all came out to fight. Xian Tai, who was ranked 8th, was the brother of Yi Qinghan, Xian Feng. He knew that Xian Feng was humiliated by Yi Qinghan in the endless space and came to take revenge. He directly entered the immemorial battlefield and went straight for the insane sect. Shi Gu, Mu Yu, Tian Chen and his wife, Huang Tian, Feng Wuxia, Qian Long and Zi Tian were the only ones left in the sect. Di Long Tian, Li Zhichong, Huang Xiaohu and the others were all on the same level. If they joined forces and used the dragon subduing seal, they would be able to kill a first-rate cultivator. However, compared to the Qi Tian Monkey King, they were still lacking in terms of cultivation level. They needed to go through life and death situations to reach a higher level. Di Long Tian improved the fastest. His battle prowess and cultivation level were completely unknown, but he cultivated more minor and major divine abilities than anyone else. Even terrifying existences like Yang Zhan couldn't compare to him. This might be due to his innate talent. The human experts who could have been crowned as kings were all suppressed by the experts of the hidden sections. Some were seriously injured, and some were killed. They were ruthless. The immemorial battlefield became a slaughterhouse for the younger generation. Many people did not fall at the hands of the dead spirits, but died at the hands of their own race. The people from the hidden clans looked down on the human warriors from the outside world. Even though they had made great contributions to the human race, the people from the hidden clans were still disdainful of them. The two sides formed two teams, one against the undead, the other against the people from the hidden clans. Both sides were looking for each other to fight. However, there were a few hidden forces that were more special. They didn't see friend or foe in their eyes. Their opponents were their opponents, but they wouldn't kill them. If they couldn't, it was normal for there to be casualties. Xian Tai found a few juniors of the insane sect. Seeing that they were all in the first layer of the immortal gate, and two of them were even great revered martial artists, he could not help but mock them. Without saying anything, he formed a seal with both hands. The 9 seals of the profound sect tore through the void and pressed down on them. Li Zhichong was furious. He controlled the dragon subduing seal and immediately rushed over. The dragon subduing seal was a pseudo-extreme Dao Emperor weapon after all, and a part of its seal had been removed by the human sovereign sword. A strand of emperor's might surged out, instantly destroying the seal and attacking Xian Tai's true body. Roar! Di Longtian turned into a divine dragon and rushed towards Xian Tai. He roared, "Azure Dragon goes to sea. Gravity law, 10,000 times gravity." Boom! Xian Tai was shocked. His legs felt like they were filled with lead. He could not move an inch. Li Zhichong and Di Longtian's attacks arrived in a flash. The dragon subduing seal directly pressed him to the ground. His legs were broken, but he fought back madly. However, Di Longtian's divine dragon fangs directly bit his waist and fiercely flung him away. Rainbow pierces sun and moon. A vision appeared in heaven and earth, the sun and moon appeared. Di Longtian turned into a divine sword and pierced through the sun and moon. His speed suddenly increased, and his strength was increased by hundreds of times. He directly pierced through Xian Tai's body in the air. Boom! Xian Tai's body was torn into pieces. His vitality was instantly erased by an unknown force. Di Longtian's attacks were all minor skills. His battle prowess was monstrous, and he was extremely powerful. The first expert of a powerful hidden sect was killed. The news spread around the Aeon battlefield in an instant, and it caused a stir among the hidden sects and clans. The Xian sect was infuriated. The 9 experts all surrounded Li Zhichong and the others, but they were stopped by Yang Zhan and the others. 4 of the top 10 experts of the Xian sect were killed in 3 days. They were ridiculed by the experts of the secluded sections. This made the eldest senior brother of the Xian sect, Xian Hualong, furious. He stepped into the territory where the experts of the universe were active. With a pseudo-extreme Dao monarch weapon in his hand, he killed without hesitation. Long Qiong sneered. She had just come out of seclusion after receiving Zhuchong's inheritance. Wearing a dragon robe, she was already showing her imperial aura. At this moment, she also rushed toward the area where the Kuang sect's disciples were active. She wanted to compete with the hidden experts. Jiqin had appeared, and Nangong Powu's true body had appeared. The name of the Kuang sect instantly spread across the Aeon battlefield. The elders of the Kuang sect all approached the Kuang sect's disciples. Zi Tian, Shi Gu, and Lin Wutian also quickly retreated. However, Long Qiong, Zi Tian, and the others were one step slower. Xian Hualong found the Kuang sect's disciples first. He looked at Li Zhuchong indifferently and asked with a hoarse voice, "You killed Xian Tai?" Di Longtian felt the opponent's strength and said in a deep voice, "Yes, I killed him." "You don't know the meaning of death. I'll send you to hell." Xian Hualong formed a seal with his palms. His 9 layers seal was hundreds of times stronger than Xian Tai. Moreover, he only used half of his battle strength. The huge seal pressed down on the ground and shattered the sky, smashing toward Di Longtian and Li Zhuchong. Boom! The dragon suppression seal shot into the void. Di Longtian's battle strength erupted, wanting to fight back. However, he couldn't shake off Xian Hualong's suppression. The ground beneath his feet crumbled, and his body almost broke apart. Blood stained the ground. Tseng, 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 the 4 juniors were forced back. The parrot flashed with light, trying to find a way out. However, there were no experts around. How could it trick them? Xian Hualong's lips curled up. He said disdainfully, "So this is the Kuang sect. You dare to kill the Xian sect's people." Boom! Xian Hualong erupted again. Di Longtian couldn't fight back, and the dragon suppression seal also lost its effect. Ah! Li Zhuchong's blood vessels swelled. He was about to explode. He took a step forward and resisted the pressure. He roared, "You guys leave first. What a joke. You want to stop me with your puny first layer of immortal gate?" Xian Hualong's lips curled up. He couldn't help but mock. He increased his strength again. True Yuan poured out, crushing Li Zhuchong's leg bones. If Di Longtian and the others gave up and chose to leave, Li Zhuchong would be crushed into dust instantly. Chapter 318. The immemorial battlefield was in chaos. 80% of the experts rushed to the territory of the insane sect's juniors. Zi Tian and the others seemed to have gone mad. Anyone who dared to stop them would be their mortal enemy. Kill! The elders of the insane sect were in a mess. Muyu Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue maintained their strongest power and swept through the battlefield. They wanted to go back and save Di Longtian and the others. However, the hidden experts seemed to be doing it on purpose. Zi Tian, Tian Gongshen, and all the other cultivators were blocked. The enemy did not care whether they could kill them or not. They only wanted to delay them so that Xian Hualong could kill all the disciples of the crazy sect and lure Yi Qinghan out. Nangong Powu moved as fast as lightning, holding the golden spear in his hand, heading straight for the battlefield of the Guangzhong sect. An evil smile appeared on his face. No one stopped him, allowing him to quickly approach the battlefield. Xian Hualong, isn't it a bit inappropriate to bully the juniors of the insane sect? A majestic voice echoed outside the immemorial battlefield. It contained terrifying laws and even the will of the world was controlled by it. Nangong Powu's spear pierced through the sky and attacked Xian Hualong. Xian Hualong frowned. He didn't know Nangong Po. Nangong Po's real body was in seclusion in the insane sect and he only had one clone. He wasn't strong enough to attract Xian Hualong's attention. However, the current Nangong Po was enough to injure him. He could only give up on killing Li Jiuchong and the others. He took a step back and stared at the incoming Nangong Po. Who are you? Don't meddle in my business. Xian Hualong shouted coldly. Meddle? I'm the eldest senior brother of the insane sect, Xian Hualong. You better piss off or don't blame me for being impolite. Nangong Po raised his eyebrows and blocked Xian Hualong's path. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had been teleported to the Celestial Sea. Logically speaking, it was impossible for them to come back. They would sink to the bottom of the sea and turn into stone statues. Apart from Zhe Kan, no one knew that Nangong Po was the traitor. Many of the insane school's disciples were peerless geniuses with extraordinary willpower, such as Di Longtian and Huang Xiaohu. Nangong Po wanted to take them as his followers. Xian Hualong was stunned. Then, he sneered and summoned his natal divine weapon, the dragon-transforming boxing glove, and put it on. He looked at Nangong Po indifferently and said coldly, since you're also from the crazy sect, you can die with them. Boom! The profound transformation dragon iron fist emitted a bright light, and with a monstrous flame, it directly blasted towards Nangong Po. Sky-piercing golden spear. Swish swish swish, Nangong Po became one with his spear. He spun at high speed, piercing through the dome of heaven. The void was distorted like a black hole. His speed was extremely fast. Boom! The dragon-transforming boxing glove and the golden spear collided. The ear-piercing sound of the collision caused Di Longtian and the others to frantically retreat. Blood spurted out from their 7 orifices as they looked at Nangong Po in shock. How can his battle strength be so strong? Didn't he follow Master to the Qinhuang Mountain Star Field? Li Jiuchong murmured in shock. This, Huang Xiaohu was also shocked. He had never seen a person's battle strength increase so much in just 2 months. Di Longtian frowned. Although he was young, he was a meticulous person. He noticed the problem. Yi Qinghan did not know Nangong Po's cultivation technique. The parrot had followed Yi Qinghan since it was young. It knew how many feathers Yi Qinghan had. When Nangong Po attacked, it felt something was wrong. Go. Leave this place. The parrot hurriedly said to Di Longtian. Swish swish swish, Di Longtian and the others did not even look at them. They trusted the parrot's judgment and directly fled. Nangong Po and Xian Hualong fought to the death. Xian Hualong was almost suppressed. Nangong Po was extremely powerful. Every attack was a killing move that could destroy heaven and earth. Xian Hualong clenched his fists. He felt that his dragon transformation glove was about to shatter. Blood flowed from his hand. He was shocked and murmured, "This is impossible. How can you be Yi Qinghan's disciple? It doesn't matter whether I am or not. Today, I will bury you." Nangong Po laughed evilly and said hoarsely, "I want to thank you for giving me a chance to make a contribution. So, I will let you go quickly. Path of crippled martial, crippled man style. Hua." Nangong Po turned into a golden dragon spear. It pierced through the clouds and shattered mountains and rivers. The golden spear was like a poisonous dragon that could drill through and kill all experts. Dragon transformation style. This was Xian Hualong's strongest move. He turned his battle body into a dragon and attacked Nangong Po. However, Nangong Po suddenly changed his move. It was smooth and flawless. Path of crippled martial style. Swish, a long rainbow shot out from the golden dragon's body. It pierced through the stars and rushed into the depths of the eternal battlefield. Boom! Xian Hualong's golden body was torn apart. His blood dyed the sky. His vitality was instantly destroyed. The head disciple of the Profound Gate was a top-tier existence in the entire boundless universe. However, he was killed by Nangong Powu in the blink of an eye. The entire eternal battlefield was shaken. Many people crazily rushed into the battlefield. Xian Hualong's body fell to the ground. A huge hole appeared in his chest. His heart was crushed into nothingness. Death Qi filled the air. His eyes were filled with shock before he died. Nangong Powu sneered. The golden spear in his hand didn't lose a single drop of blood. It directly pierced through the clouds and chased after Di Longtian and Li Jiuchong. 1,000 miles away, Li Jiuchong and the others arrived at a mountain range. They leaned against the mountain and panted. That bastard is problematic. He uses the path of crippled martial, which is a mortal enemy of the path of divine martial. The parrot was furious. Yi Qinghan left with Nangong Powu. Now that Nangong Powu had returned and was so powerful, where did Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi go? Did something happen to Master? Li Jiuchong tensed up and asked nervously. Something must have happened. Otherwise, he would have returned long ago. But now, I can be sure that he's not dead. Otherwise, I would be dead too. The parrot whispered. It suddenly looked up at the void and saw Nangong Powu rushing over. It immediately said, "Don't expose him later. Let him be smug for now. When this divine bird finds a chance, I'll kill him." Soon, Nangong Powu landed in front of a group of juniors and said with a sad face, "Fortunately, my junior brothers are fine. Otherwise, how could I face Master in the future? Senior brother Powu, where is Master and senior sister Emperor Yi? Didn't you leave with them?" Li Jiuchong frowned and asked. Nangong Powu sighed and said with heartache, "Master and Emperor Yi worked together to fight Zhe Kan and Xiao Worcester's traitor, Jian Shui. Unfortunately, the difference in cultivation is too great. They have been teleported to the depths of the ultimate sky sea. Master sent me out before he left and told me to come back and take good care of the Guangzhong." The parrot hid in Di Longtian's arms and didn't dare to show its head. It was afraid that it would arouse Nangong Powu's suspicion. Li Jiuchong and the others clenched their fists. Hostility flashed in their eyes, but it quickly disappeared. If they fought Nangong Powu now, they would definitely die. In the depths of the ultimate sky sea, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were creating their own dual cultivation method. Their battle strength recovered very quickly and their cultivation was also rising rapidly. On this day, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi once again merged into one. Both of their true ether surged and roared, breaking through the shackles. They finally reached the peak of their combat ability. Their dragon blood was pure, and their source body of the Great Path was even purer. The two of them improved at the same speed, and they both entered the third tier of the Celestial Gate. As their cultivation increased, the effect of the ultimate sky sea's shackles on Emperor Yi became smaller and smaller. However, she still couldn't sense the shore of the ultimate sky sea and didn't dare to take the risk. Once she fell into the ultimate sky sea, even the great emperor wouldn't be able to save her. Over the past few days, Yi Qinghan and Renhuang Yi had raced against time to cultivate diligently. After cultivating diligently, Renhuang Yi's youthful appearance had faded. He had become holy, mature, and naturally charming. Yi Qinghan had also benefited greatly. His battle prowess had more than doubled when he was at the same level as Yi Qinghan. Now that the two of them were working together, they would definitely not be forced to retreat by Zhe Kan. On this day, Yi Qinghan stared at the ultimate sky sea. He was very anxious and wanted to go back immediately. "Master, wait until we reach another cultivation level. Maybe we can sense the shore." Emperor Yi saw that Yi Qinghan was worried about the Guangzhong and comforted him. Yi Qinghan embraced the soft Emperor Yi and carried her back to the cave. Once again, they became one, and their yin and yang became one, breaking through the shackles. His soul was at a high level of tranquility, and his understanding of the rules and secret techniques had reached the pinnacle. The little person in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness was constantly cultivating the secret technique. Ultimate Emperor returning to origin, Emperor Heavenly Descent. Every time he used his strength, his understanding of the secret technique deepened. Gradually, Yi Qinghan fell into an epiphany. His body was subconsciously rushing forward. His eyes were clear and empty. The pages of the Divine Martial Imperial Codex in his consciousness were flipping. Divine Martial Arts Chapter, Rainbow Piercing the Sun and Moon, Space Escape Technique. At this moment, his soul was highly focused. He could use the minor divine martial arts of truth after reading it once. Their souls were as one. Without speaking, they could feel the secret techniques in each other's consciousness. The two of them formed a resonance. At this moment, whatever Yi Qinghan knew, Emperor Yi would automatically comprehend. As for whatever Emperor Yi knew, as long as it wasn't the Guqin, he could cultivate it. Moreover, his cultivation speed was extremely fast. He didn't need to comprehend it. Sky Severing Hand, 9 Stars Chasing Moon Stacked Explosion Technique, Yi Qinghan evolved in his consciousness. Sky Severing Hand broke the firmament. Due to the high consumption of his soul, Yi Qinghan's battle strength was undergoing an earth-shattering change. At this moment, he couldn't feel the exhaustion of his soul at all. After a long time, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's soul trembled. Their senses had reached their limits. Both of them welcomed the impact. In the end, they collapsed on the quilt and hugged each other to sleep. In the immemorial battlefield, Nangong Powu was sweeping through with a few juniors. After seeing Zhe Can, his eyes were filled with warning. Obviously, as long as Zhe Can dared to betray him, he would have a good reason to attack and wouldn't be punished by the sect. Zhe Can laughed mockingly. He didn't want to fall out with Nangong Powu. After all, Nangong Powu was the direct descendant of the founder of the path of martial arts. At this moment, Zi Tian and Muyu Tianchen were the first to catch up to Di Long Tian. When they saw that it was Nangong Powu, they frowned and asked seriously, "Nangong Powu, where is Brother Yi?" Master and Emperor Yi died in battle. Before they left, they handed the insane sect to me. From today onwards, I will be the sect master of the insane sect. I hope you can assist me. Nangong Powu sighed and said in a deep voice. The expressions of Zi Tian and the others changed drastically. Yi Qinghan had always been the backbone of the Kuang sect, and Emperor Yi had the celestial Guqin Crimson Demon physique, which was the physique of an ancient Renhuang. How could he die in battle? Chapter 319. Whoosh! At least a dozen experts from the eternal battlefield arrived near Zi Tian and the others. Bullshit! How could Qinghan die in battle? Also, Nangong Powu, with your battle strength, you were able to kill Xian Hualong. Looks like you're not simple. Sikong Qingjun stepped out from the void and looked at Nangong Powu coldly with suspicion in his eyes. Martial Uncle Sikong, I respect you as a senior, but this is a matter of the insane sect. If you have doubts, you can leave the insane sect. You can investigate me. Nangong Powu pretended to be sad and said solemnly. Is there any evidence to prove that Brother Yi handed the insane sect to you? Muyo Tianchen frowned and asked. No, it happened so suddenly. My master died very quickly. He only gave me a verbal order. Powu hopes that you can unite and help me strengthen the Kuang sect and avenge my master, Nangong Powu said in a deep voice. You don't have the final say in this matter. First, tell me, who killed Qinghan and Emperor Yi? How did they die? Why can you escape but they can't? Could it be that your battle strength has surpassed your master? Sikong Qingjuan's face was full of doubt and murderous intent as he angrily rebuked. Martial Uncle Sikong, what do you mean? You want to seize control of the insane sect? You and Honorable Master are just good friends, so please conduct yourself with dignity and don't sow discord. My crazy school brothers will not be confused by your nonsense. Nangong Powu launched an attack in advance, verbally attacking Sikong Qingjun. Sikong Qingjun's breath stagnated and his hand sank. He held the Thunder God golden jade rod in his hand and was about to attack. What? You want to kill the sect master of the insane sect? If you dare to attack, I will order the elders of the insane sect to kill you. Nangong Powu said coldly. Boom. Whoosh. Whoosh. Whoosh, since when did a junior like you have the right to speak in the insane sect? Ordering the elders of the insane sect to kill the elders. That depends on whether you are qualified or not. Gu Qingyu appeared in front of everyone with a golden sword in his hand. Jian Qinxue had also returned from the boundless space. She had undergone earth-shattering changes. Her cultivation level had directly charged to the 6th level of the Immortal Gate. However, the sense of danger she gave off was not inferior to that of a divine martial expert. It's martial Uncle Gu and Sister Shui. The disciples of the crazy sect were overjoyed. Jian Qinxue had watched some of them grow up and trusted her as much as she trusted Emperor Yi. Jian Qinxue was like a snow woman, pure and flawless. He looked at the experts gathering on the battlefield. The crazy sect's juniors were too weak. Once the battle started, the aftershocks would easily hurt them. He said to Gu Qingyu, fellow Daoist, please deal with this matter. I will bring Jiu Chong and the others back to the crazy sect. Whoosh! Jian Qinxue waved her hand, and a huge snow dragon appeared in the sky. It wrapped around Li Jiuchong, Di Longtian, and the others, bringing them all back to the insane sect. A day later, the group returned to the crazy sect. Hey, little beauty, quickly go to the immemorial battlefield. There is something wrong with that Nangong Powu. He is using the martial path. He is very likely a traitor of the Owl Warstar. Moreover, my master is not dead. Otherwise, I would be dead. The parrot crawled out of Di Longtian's arms and hurriedly reminded. Jian Qinxue tipped her toes and rushed to the immemorial battlefield. In the immemorial battlefield, Nangong Powu and Gu Qingyu were ready to fight. However, there were too many experts of hidden sects gathered there, waiting for the right opportunity. Gu Qingyu endured it. Nangong Powu, follow me back to the crazy sect. When I find out the truth, I will clear your name. Gu Qingyu said coldly. I am the sect master of the crazy sect now. Why are you investigating me? Nangong Powu asked aggressively. With the sword in my hand. If you are not a traitor, you better come with me. Otherwise, the next time we meet, I will take your life. Gu Qingyu's eyes flashed coldly. Zai Kan smiled evilly and stood with his sword. He now hoped that the people of the crazy sect would fight with Nangong Powu so that he could reap the benefits. Si Wuxia's eyes shot out rays like the scorching sun. His golden blood suppressed the heavens as he stepped out aggressively. He clenched his iron fist and said eerily, Nangong Powu, I don't care if what you said is true or false. I just want to know where Master and Senior Sister are now. If they are dead, who killed them? If you don't tell me the truth, I will open your head and see what you are thinking. A group of ignorant people. If Master was still alive, wouldn't he be bitterly disappointed if he saw you attacking me? Nangong Powu was still quibbling. Who are the ignorant people? Everyone can see that your battle strength is even higher than Master's. If you and Senior Sister work together, who can kill you? Moreover, Master has 3 Emperor weapons and the 10,000 Buddha Pagoda. Unless a quasi-emperor has an emperor weapon, no one can hurt you. Si Wuxia asked coldly. If it is really a quasi-emperor with an emperor weapon, then tell us the name and we will know after we investigate. 3 emperor weapons and a pseudo-extreme emperor weapon. Everyone gasped. Apart from the people inside the Kuang sect, no one else knew about this. Even Nangong Powu did not know. A flaw was revealed. Nangong Powu became silent because he could not lie anymore. Where is Yi Qinghan? Hand him over to me. How dare he snatch the emperor weapon of my Diwu clan? He must have eaten a leopard's guts. A terrifying aura broke the tense atmosphere on the eternal battlefield. A figure descended. He was as handsome as jade and had the demeanor of a young great emperor. He was from the Diwu clan, but no one knew him. He looked very young. However, no one knew which era he was from. Judging from the aura he emitted, he was definitely very ancient. So ancient that even a quasi-emperor might not be as old as him. Diwu Tianhe followed behind the young man, not daring to overtake him. Everyone was shocked and vigilant. They had never seen such a terrifying young generation. Qitian Monkey King, Long Qiong, Yang Zhan, and the others narrowed their eyes. Their fighting spirit was high, but they had no intention of attacking. If they attacked now, both sides would be injured. Whoever launched a sneak attack would die on the spot. Gu Qingyu moved the hilt of his sword. The elders and friends of the Kuang sect all gathered together, ready for the big battle. Xia Ziluo also came. When she saw that the other party was looking for Yi Qinghan, she couldn't help but sneer. When the dead spirits were born, you all curled up in your lairs like dogs. When the dead spirits are destroyed, you all want to jump out like worms and shout. Do you think you can prove your Tao? I am just a little girl. What's more, you are recognized by the heavenly Tao. This time, Xia Ziluo attacked all the reclusive wealthy families, which immediately attracted the disgust and hostility of many people. You are courting death. The young man from the Diwu clan unleashed his aura, causing most of the experts to retreat. Only a few ultimate experts stood in the center of the battlefield, but they were all very vigilant. Yes, you are courting death. Can you kill me? Xia Ziluo's 10 fingers reached into the sky, sucking away the spiritual qi within 1,000 miles. The giant hand that covered the sky shattered the firmament and directly grabbed at the 2 people from the Diwu clan. She was extremely powerful. Her Tao-proving aura surpassed the elites of the same level. Even Qitian Monkey King and the others blushed with shame. No one had a good impression of these reclusive wealthy families, but they didn't say it out loud. Only Xia Ziluo dared to say it. Boom! The firmament kept collapsing as the giant hand pressed down. The spiritual qi gathered into the 8 trigrams true dragon and kept surging towards Xia Ziluo. Purple qi came from the east and gathered on the ancient battlefield. Xia Ziluo was like a war immortal, above all creatures. Heaven-destroying technique. The young man from the Diwu clan raised his eyebrows and waved his hand. Even if he didn't rely on the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si, he could still overturn heaven and earth. Whoosh! One side of the battlefield turned heaven and earth upside down. The terror was monstrous. Everyone was shocked. This person was definitely a Tao-proving aura. With a wave of his hand, he was full of majesty. Overturning heaven and earth. Boom! Heaven and earth converged with a magnificent aura. Vast and boundless spiritual qi swept through time and space, majestic and majestic. The momentum was full of dominance. Crack, 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 the void kept collapsing. Xia Ziluo's attack instantly collided with that terrifying existence. Heaven and earth cracked, the earth turned upside down, and everyone retreated. How dare a speck of light compete with the bright moon? Wait until you break through the 9th layer of the celestial gate before you talk to me. Get lost. The terrifying existence from the Diwu clan's words were full of dominance. He struck out with both palms, and his combat power erupted to the extreme. The power of the 9th layer of the celestial gate was enough to instantly suppress a mid-level existence of the divine martial realm. Boom! The giant hand collapsed and turned into nothingness. Xia Ziluo retreated several steps and leaned against Quang Zong. Her face was a little pale, and a terrifying light shot out from her eyes. Then, she closed her eyes tightly and formed a seal with her palms. Purple qi wrapped around her, and a huge 8 trigrams formation appeared in front of her chest. It spun at a high speed and almost made her explode. Xia Qiue's pupils shrank. She stepped forward and pressed her shoulder, saying in a low voice, "Stop fooling around. Even if you kill him, you won't be able to live. Father has already left. You have to think about the big picture." The young man from the Diwu clan stepped back slightly. He squinted at Xia Ziluo and said lightly, "The purple qi celestial spirit body is indeed domineering. However, your realm is a little low. Otherwise, you could really compete with me." Xia Ziluo was silent. A defeat was a defeat, but it didn't affect her Dao heart. In order to prove her Dao, her willpower was probably not inferior to Yi Qinghan's. Gu Qingyu's left hand moved the hilt of his sword, and the divine sword was unsheathed. He said to the young man from the Diwu clan, "Yi Qinghan is my brother. Now that he's not here, you can talk to me. Quang Zong. If you're not from the Quang Zong, then stand aside. This matter has nothing to do with you." A murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the young man from the Diwu clan. He was incomparably domineering. He said in a cold voice, "I'll let you know when you die. I'm the younger brother of the Diwu Great Emperor, Diwu Shenquang. In the name of the Great Emperor, I sentence you all to death." Everyone was shocked. The younger brother of the Diwu Great Emperor, Diwu Shenquang, was a legend when he was young. However, when the Diwu Great Emperor was even stronger, and with the advantage of his age, it was already set in stone that he would prove his Dao. In the end, Diwu Shenquang was sealed by the Great Perfection Boundary Emperor of the clan. Who would have thought that he would appear today? Even if the Diwu Great Emperor's young battle prowess reappeared, he wouldn't dare to say that he could kill me. If you want to fight, I'll fight with you. Gu Qingyu pointed his long sword at Diwu Shenquang. His cold sword Dao merged with his person, turning into a giant sword that reached the sky. Chapter 320. Gu Qingyu was strong, and so was the fifth mad god. Neither of them wanted to be weak, and a great battle was about to break out. More and more people gathered, and the experts of the hidden clans increased as well. It was almost a one-sided battle. In addition, the experts of the 10,000 races couldn't form a united front with the crazy sect, causing the situation to worsen. Nangong Powu was actually watching from the sidelines. His intention was clear. He didn't admit that he was the leader of the crazy sect, and he didn't want to meddle in other people's business. This made the crazy sect even angrier, and they became more and more suspicious of him. Whoosh! Heavy snow fell from the sky. The eternal battlefield was no longer a battlefield or a hell on earth. The snow grew heavier and heavier, burying the corpses and blood. It was like a fairyland. No one moved. They just looked up at the sky. A white figure was covered by the snow, and it was approaching rapidly. Jian Qinshue landed and stepped on a dead weed. He stared at Nangong Powu. He was too worried about Yi Qinghan's situation, so he didn't hesitate and asked directly, "Nangong Powu, you are the inheritor of the brutal martial path. You are the traitor of Shao Zhanxing. Where are brother Qinghan and my son?" Nangong Powu was stunned. He didn't expect Jian Qinshue to be so sure of his identity. The corner of his mouth rose slightly as he said lightly, "He is dead. Just like Emperor Yi, he will never appear again." Crack, the crazy sect was furious. They clenched their fists and ignited the flames of the battlefield. Kill! Swish! 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 Dozens of people fought in the eternal battlefield. Even Heavenly Monkey King and Long Qiong joined the battle. Even if the crazy sect loses and dies, they can only lose to us and die in our hands. You so-called hidden clans only know how to hide in the face of a strong enemy. What right do you have to prove your Tao and behave so atrociously? Heavenly Monkey King's fighting spirit soared to the sky. He turned into a golden body and swept in all directions, stopping the fifth mad god in advance. His battle rod was towering, suppressing all the heroes. No one dared to interfere in the battlefield near him. Gu Qingyu attacked Nangong Powu directly, trying to find Yi Qinghan's whereabouts. Boom! The Aeon battlefield became an iron-blooded battlefield for the younger generation to prove their Tao and become emperors. It became hell on earth. Even emperors were worthless, and one of them would fall in an instant. Fake emperor weapons appeared continuously, radiating light in all directions, almost wiping out the periphery of the Aeon battlefield. Fortunately, they still had some self-awareness and didn't dare to enter the depths to cause a ruckus. Otherwise, these people would have been torn apart alive by the emperor runes. Muyu Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue were now challenging the fifth ravine, suppressing him until he was forced to retreat. The sun and moon pierced through the river of stars, heavy snow swirled in the air, and the phenomenon of heaven and earth was peerlessly terrifying. This was the first time Jian Qinxue had used her full strength since her debut. The icy aura had frozen the king-level expert's body, directly destroying part of his soul and finding Jikan. Now that she had obtained the inheritance and refinement of human Emperor Xianyuan, her battle strength was terrifying, far surpassing the younger generation. After experiencing a few battles of life and death, she would definitely have the bearing of an emperor. The remaining 5 cultivators of the Xian sect all appeared. They charged at Nangong Powu crazily and killed each other. They wanted to avenge Xian Huolong. In the end, Gu Qingyu and Nangong Powu didn't want anyone to interfere in their battle, so they directly killed all 5 of the Xian sect's cultivators and fought again. The heavenly dragon roared. Long Qiong transformed into a huge dragon and swept towards Shen. Quebec Emperor descends. Shen Kei's palms formed a seal. The huge illusory figure was like an emperor descending. It controlled the heaven and earth, fighting against the heaven and earth as it pressed down on Long Qiong. Si Wuxia also killed his way into the crowd. As long as he saw someone from a hidden sect, he would kill them. However, there were too many hidden sects cultivators. They were clearly divided into 2 camps. Moreover, there were many hidden sects cultivators who hadn't shown themselves yet. This is really heated. How can my Yin-Yang school be missing? A voice roared in the void. 8 figures appeared, and the battlefield immediately quieted down. The great battle separated and looked at the 8 cultivators with vigilance. The chief disciples of the Yin-Yang 8 schools had all arrived. There were a total of 9 of them. One of them represented the Yin-Yang school's headquarters. Everyone's combat strength was top-notch. Their appearance was enough to change the situation of the battle. If they worked together, they could even kill most of the cultivators here. Even Monkey King Qitian and Diwu Quangshan wouldn't be spared. The chief disciples' names were very uniform. Their clothes were also the same. Only the embroidery was different. Gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, yin, and yang were clearly embroidered on their shoulders. The 9 of them clearly represented the Yin-Yang 8 schools and the headquarters. Yin-Yang Feng, make your stance clear first. Jikan obviously knew the people of the Yin-Yang school. He immediately said coldly. Of course, we'll kick out these arrogant princes and saints first. Then, we'll decide the victor. A cultivator stepped forward. He was Yin-Yang Feng, a direct disciple of the Yin-Yang school's headquarters. Regardless of whether his combat strength was the strongest, his status was the highest. The people of the Yin-Yang 8 schools had to give him face. Besiege? Are you bullying me with numbers? Xia Qiu frowned. If they continued fighting like this, the hidden cultivators would easily wipe out the disciples on the surface. Then let's fight one-on-one. We'll fight to the death until none of you can fight. Yin Yang Foam was arrogant. He didn't put these so-called princes and saints in his eyes at all. All the princes were silent. They were too few in number. They didn't even have 1/10 of the opponents. If they fought on the eternal battlefield, they would obviously be at a disadvantage. They could only retreat to the sovereign domain and summon all the heroes who were still in seclusion. They might have a chance to win, but the chances were very slim. No one dared to say that they would be unstoppable. Heavenly Monkey King, Fifth Violent God, Zhikan, Nangong Powu, Gu Qingyu, and Jian Qinxue didn't dare to have such strong confidence. At this time, whoever was more powerful would die the earliest. Go to the sovereign domain. I'll play with you. Zhang Gu was the first to express his stance. He was a Dao realm cultivator of the Zhan family. He naturally knew that a portion of the super-existences of the sacred grounds hadn't awakened yet. At this time, they should also make a move. The people of the Yin-Yang 8 schools mocked. Someone mocked, "Don't tell me you want to borrow the power behind your family. Your people have already been crippled by the dead spirits. You still want to show off. It's better for them to die standing than for you to drag out an ignoble existence." Xia Ziluo replied coldly. The people of the hidden aristocratic families sneered. They were completely indifferent, but their killing intent had already been set. You have so many people and so many families. Are you still afraid of the Dao realm's sacred grounds? Or are you all sore losers? Xia Qiue used provocation. She was afraid that they would swarm over. What a joke. Do you think we're afraid of you? If your family has someone who has been sealed for thousands of years, you might be able to make do with it. Otherwise, with just you, you'd better go home and find a woman to have children with. What does the matter of corroborating the Tao have to do with you? A king of a hidden aristocratic family mocked disdainfully. He didn't care about Long Qiong and Yang Zhan, who had the bearing of an emperor. Then let's go. When we meet in the sovereign domain, we'll fight to the death. Gu Qingyu indicated for the people behind him to retreat. He still held his sword vigilantly. Heavenly Monkey King and the others brought up the rear. Only when all the experts retreated did they turn around and leave. In absolute heaven ocean, the ocean water roared. The tide actually rose, drowning a portion of the island and almost closing in on the cave. Yi Qinghan looked across the ocean. It was vast and he couldn't see the end or the beginning. He felt like this absolute heaven ocean was in another space. The ocean water retreated. The forest was petrified and the waterfall was frozen. They all turned into white stone. This absolute heaven ocean was really devoid of life. Master, look at that fish. It actually wasn't petrified. Emperor Yi pointed at the bottom of the stream. There was a weird wolf fish struggling. It wanted to charge out of the confinement of the petrified water. Yi Qinghan was delighted. This was the first time he discovered that there was actually a living being that was immune to the absolute heaven-ocean water. After a long while, all the ocean water retreated. Yi Qinghan carried violent craze and walked out of the cave. He realized that the petrified rocks all had the ability to petrify. It suppressed his azure dragon bloodline and his true essence was rapidly decreasing. Hong! Yi Qinghan slashed out 4 times. It was as fast as lightning. It directly cut open the rocks and took out the wolffish. He realized that its life force was not affected by the absolute heaven-ocean water at all. What a strange fish. The blood in its body must be a treasure that can restrain the absolute heaven-ocean water. Yi Qinghan was excited. If he could extract the element that could restrain the absolute heaven-ocean water from the wolffish's body, then he would have a better chance of leaving absolute heaven-ocean. Yi Qinghan cut open the wolffish and gathered all the blood into the stone pot. He summoned the fire origin with both of his palms and roasted the blood, making it boil. His divine sense wandered around the blood, looking for rare mineral elements. Emperor Yi came to Yi Qinghan's side. His divine sense was also looking for rare elements. Before, no one had ever found an element that could restrain the absolute heaven-ocean water. This meant that this element had never been discovered before. There were not many of these elements. Very quickly, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi found a colorless element. It was very rare, and when it came out from the blood, it was filled with a dazzling white light. It was incomparably holy. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and grasped this element. He had never seen it before. He frowned and asked in astonishment, "Is this the legendary light origin?" Emperor Yi shook his head. The light origin had always been a legend. Even the great emperors had never found it. This kind of thing was even rarer than divine dragons and phoenixes. Divine beasts like divine dragons had at least appeared in the Savage Era. However, the light origin had never appeared in the world. Everyone knew that there must be a light element, but no one had ever found it. If it is the light origin, then why is it in its body? This kind of creature doesn't seem like a light-type divine beast. Yi Qinghan was puzzled. He wanted to figure out what this thing was. It took the initiative to absorb this element into its body. Once the element entered its body, its entire body felt warm. It suppressed and tempered its true essence. Its entire body was filled with strength. The wood origin and metal origin were both crazily growing. Only the dark element was resisted and suppressed. It was too rare, so rare that it could be ignored. After the dark element was suppressed, it quickly counterattacked and completely suppressed that trace of element, causing it to disappear without a trace. This is indeed the light origin. It is incompatible with the dark element and can also help other origins. It is definitely a supreme treasure. The God Martial Emperor Code suddenly had a reaction. It flipped to a page and 2 lines of words appeared. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. Since this light element could appear in the wolffish's stomach, it meant that it existed on this island. If he could find it and merge it into his body, then his 9-revolution Tao body would be more or less complete. If yin and yang could become one, then light and darkness could become one. Yi Qinghan did not believe that he could not merge the light element. The most important thing now was to find the light origin. "Master, look at the stream. It is changing back." Emperor Yi was overjoyed. He pointed at the pool and realized that the waterfall was also squirming. It could break free at any time. Chapter 321. Yi Qinghan gazed at the bottom of the pool where the spring water was constantly churning. The color of the water became transparent, and that kind of dazzling light was very intense. It was as if there were countless small suns churning in the pool. The light elements kept breaking through the petrification of the absolute sky sea. Yi Qinghan was very curious about what was in the water of the absolute sky sea that could actually block the heaven and earth Tao techniques and petrify the Tao bodies of cultivators. Even quasi-emperors and great emperors could not escape from the shackles. Soon, the entire island was restored to its original state as if it had never been submerged. The light elements all retreated and rushed towards the bottom of the stream. Yi Qinghan jumped in without hesitation and followed the light elemental down. He discovered that this pool was extraordinarily deep. After descending for over 30 meters, he was met with a biting cold that froze his heart. Even his own dragon blood was suppressed by the cold. True essence flowed slowly, and a layer of ice adhered to the surface of his skin. Yi Qinghan activated the azure dragon body and shook off the layer of ice as he continued to dive. After diving for an unknown amount of time, Yi Qinghan kept following the light elements and did not get lost. He remembered the direction and finally arrived at the bottom. He realized that the ground was not filled with rocks and soil, but with a layer of enchantment. It was a completely different world. Yi Qinghan flickered and touched the enchantment with his big hand. He realized that the enchantment had no effect on him and immediately entered the space below. The spiritual chi in the space was almost solid. The light in the space was so intense that it was hard for people to open their eyes. It was not suitable for humans to live here for a long time. The trees here were incomparably thick. It was unknown how long they had lived here, as if they had existed since ancient times. A small stream flowed downwards, and no one knew where it flowed to. Many wolffish cruised around and jumped up from time to time before following the flow of the stream downwards. Yi Qinghan held the heavy wild blade tightly and sped up along the stream. The light elements suddenly accelerated and gathered towards a tall mountain. The spiritual chi took the initiative to drill into Yi Qinghan's body. The true essence in his chi sea churned and filled his entire chi sea. It was like a real sea, vast and boundless. It flowed along his blood vessels to his limbs and bones, tempering his Tao body. Other than the dark elements, all the other elements in his body went crazy and became increasingly pure. His vitality and chi was exuberant to the extreme. Sha sha shu, Yi Qinghan stepped on the gravel and sped along. Yi Qinghan ran for an entire hour before arriving at the foot of the mountain. He was shocked to discover that there were stone men standing proudly at the foot of the mountain. Someone actually made it here and was petrified. Yi Qinghan's pupils suddenly shrank. He vigilantly looked at the mountain range in front of him. He felt a divine sense lock onto him, and his hair stood on end. Sha sha sha, the crisp sound of footsteps approached from afar. Yi Qinghan could feel his blood boiling and his fire essence burning. The burning pain all over his body caused him to frown and retreat continuously. His dragon blood burned and his vitality burned. The azure dragon body became extremely weak. The metal origin circulated crazily and constantly tempered his body. The stronger his body became, the more horrified Yi Qinghan was. This was because it was useless. The newcomer was too strong and could mobilize his chi and blood. At this moment, he could feel how weak he was. He was so weak that the opponents could crush him. Soon, a young girl appeared in his line of sight. She looked very young and was as pure as a gem without any flaws. However, her eyes were tightly shut, just like Emperor Yi from before. She wore a very ancient robe that was indiscernible from its era. After so long, another greedy human has come here. I didn't expect it to be immortal. The young girl's voice was like the sound of nature, but it was also deadly. It shocked Yi Qinghan. An expert of the immortal realm and an invincible king was actually immortal in her eyes. Who wasn't immortal? Wasn't the great emperor? This little one is Yi Qinghan. I came here by accident and didn't mean to offend Fairy. I hope Fairy won't take offense. Yi Qinghan bowed slightly. There were no distracting thoughts in his eyes. He didn't dare to reveal any evil thoughts. Even if the woman in front of him was so perfect that she was even more attractive than Emperor Yi. Fairy. Kakik, this is the first time I've been called that. In the past, I've always been called a demoness. Mortals will always be mortals. You're much more fun than those great emperors who think they're superior because of their cultivation. The young girl wasn't shy at all. She stepped on a leaf and curiously sized up Yi Qinghan with her divine sense as if she was looking at a pet. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He thought to himself, she actually met the great emperor. How long has she been in this space? Is her lifespan eternal? Are you afraid of me? Don't be. You'll be like them. You'll become a stone statue here and add an accessory to the divine nether space. The young girl smiled, revealing a row of pure white teeth. She didn't care about Yi Qinghan's life at all. She only treated him as a pet. Yi Qinghan was bleeding profusely. He couldn't control the dragon blood at all. His skin exploded and dragon scales fell from his body. The tearing pain made his face contort. Play with me first. Tell me, are the humans outside still greedy? The young girl asked curiously. Yi Qinghan frowned and clenched his fists. His heavy berserk blade was almost twisted out of shape. He said with a hoarse voice, "Senior, the human race is very united now. In order to protect their people, they're willing to give up their lives. Why is Senior so hostile to the human race?" "Oh." The young girl raised her eyebrows, revealing a trace of disdain. She then said, "Mortal, would you die for the human race? If necessary, I'm willing to fight to the death." Yi Qinghan clenched his teeth and looked at the young girl in front of him. He realized that she didn't have any feelings for the human race. Her hatred for the human race came from her bones. "Kakik, foolish mortal. Tell me, what's the purpose of your cultivation?" The young girl mocked. To protect my family, protect the people I love, and protect the helpless living beings." Yi Qinghan replied without hesitation. "Protect? Ha ha ha. That's the same answer as those great emperors. Unfortunately, they didn't give me the answer I wanted at the last moment. In the end, they all turned into stone statues." The young girl pointed at the 7 stone statues and said coldly. Yi Qinghan looked at the 7 stone statues. Their postures were very strange. They were all petrified the moment they attacked. They didn't have the chance to resist. He was shocked and muttered, "They're all great emperors. They were all petrified. How did you do it? Now you should be concerned about how to answer my question and how to give me what I want. You shouldn't be concerned about these stone statues. They're already dead. They're completely dead." The young girl said indifferently. "Senior, what do you want to know?" Yi Qinghan frowned. He realized that this young girl might not be human. He was very vigilant. "I won't ask first. If you help me kill someone, I'll let you go and protect your family." The young girl waved her hand. Suddenly, a person appeared in the space. It was actually Emperor Yi. Emperor Ye's throat was grabbed. The Shin Qin retreated into his body and he fainted. It turned out that Emperor Yi was worried that Yi Qinghan would be in danger. He directly jumped into the pool and dove down. The Shin Qin was also held in his arms to block the cold. She also entered the space and was instantly captured by the young girl. "If you kill her, I can spare your life. You can stay in this space with me for eternity. You can also go out and protect the people you want to protect. If you don't kill her, I'll let her kill you. If she doesn't kill you, I'll turn all of you into stone statues." The young girl's eyes flashed with a mischievous light. She smiled and said to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan clenched his fist and glared at the young girl. He coldly said, "Let her go. No one has ever dared to speak to me like this. Not even the great emperor. You, a mere mortal, actually dared to scold me." The young girl's aura turned cold. A strand of divine sense wrapped around Yi Qinghan. She completely mobilized his blood and qi and directly tore his body apart. Blood poured out. Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. He continuously retreated. He tried his best to control his qi and blood, but he realized that it was useless. The other party was constantly tearing his body apart. After healing it, she would tear it apart again. It was always at his heart. If he moved even a little bit, it would take his life. "What do you want? If you have something to say, just say it," Yi Qinghan coldly said. As expected of a loving couple. "You can't bear to kill her. I want to see if she can bear to kill you." Whoosh, the young girl flicked her finger and directly sealed Yi Qinghan. She awakened Emperor Yi and said indifferently, "Help me kill her and I'll let you go." Emperor Yi was shocked. He didn't even have the chance to resist in front of the other party. The other party's will was like the great emperor's will. He couldn't resist. "Senior, my husband and I didn't blaspheme you. Please be magnanimous. If you need anything, just say it. Emperor Yi said solemnly. I want your eyes. Will you give them to me? I also want to see the scenery outside, the young girl said indifferently. Emperor Yi's aura stagnated. His eyes had finally recovered and he could see again. He couldn't accept that the other party wanted to take them away from him. As long as you're willing, I'll spare him, the young girl said calmly. As long as you're willing to let him go, then take them away. It doesn't matter to me whether I have eyes or not. Emperor Yi's tears flowed freely. It wasn't that he didn't want to resist, but that he couldn't. The young girl was astonished. She didn't think that the two people in front of her were so different from the humans she had imagined. She forcefully read Emperor Yi's memories and knew that he cherished his eyes. He really wanted to open his eyes. She didn't think that he would choose to give them up without hesitation. I still want your life. Is that okay? The young girl asked again. Yes. Emperor Yi clenched his fists and said hoarsely. What an interesting pair of mortals. When the great emperor found out that I wanted his eyes, he attacked me. He even wanted to invade me, steal my eyes, and steal my light source. That's why they both died. The young girl said calmly, as if killing the great emperor was easy. The young girl waved her hand and undid Yi Qinghan's seal. Yi Qinghan reached out and pulled Emperor Yi behind him. He said in a low voice, we have no grievances. Please don't make things difficult for us. You can leave, but she has to stay, the young girl said coldly. No. Yi Qinghan called out the Tianwu battle sword and said coldly. If you don't leave, then stay here forever. I don't have much mercy in my heart. The young girl's killing intent flashed. She opened her eyes and directly pierced through the great emperor's stone statue. Yi Qinghan's resolute gaze didn't waver. He still stood in front of Emperor Yi and said in a low voice, you can kill my body, but you can't change my mind. Chapter 322. The killing intent in the beautiful girl's eyes enveloped Yi Qinghan. Her eyes were filled with disdain. However, she had the qualifications to be able to petrify even a great emperor. Moreover, it was unknown which era this great emperor was from. However, after the supreme ancient era, there weren't many great emperors. Yi Qinghan was on guard, but he wouldn't change his mind. It was also impossible for him to agree to keep Emperor Yi here. He even wanted to gouge out his eyes and give them to the other party. After a long time, the girl spoke in a low voice, is the purpose of the human race's cultivation really to protect and not to plunder? I can prove it to you. The experts of the human race are all for the sake of protection. Emperor Yi said solemnly. Prove it to me. The girl said indifferently. Emperor Yi took out his divine zither and sat cross-legged on the ground. His 10 fingers strummed the zither as the majestic melody was filled with determination and solemnity. The ancient battlefield appeared once again. Countless experts were fearless as they stood at the front lines of the battlefield. The blood of great emperors splattered across the sky. Their corpses fell from the void and fell onto the stars. The buried emperor's chant resounded as a vast aura filled the entire divine nether space. The gathering of selfless experts caused grief. Countless nameless experts died without anyone knowing their names. Emperor Ye's heart and mind were as one as he merged his Dao heart into his Zither Dao, perfectly outlining the buried emperor's chant. It was able to influence the vicissitudes of life. Even the wolf fishes were swimming upstream. The girl's expression changed slightly before she calmed down. Slowly, her blood and chi were also stirred by the melody. Her blood and chi boiled as she started to dance in the air. Her ethereal and enchanting dance caused the entire space to rumble. Yi Qinghan listened to the melody and looked at the young girl's dance. He discovered that her dance wasn't just a dance, it also contained martial techniques that would cause one's heart to turn cold. Yi Qinghan automatically blocked the charm that came from his bones. His eyes widened as he stared at the young girl's dance. It was as though he could see her attacking her opponent. Although her movements looked soft and gentle, they could easily kill immortal emperors. Very quickly, Yi Qinghan imitated the girl's posture and made some slight modifications. However, the girl's movements were light, ethereal, and elegant. His movements, on the other hand, were bold and full of dominance. At the end of the song, the girl's fingers stopped moving. She was astonished to see that Yi Qinghan had not lost himself in her dance and had instead gained an epiphany. Emperor Yi sighed and said, "Senior, there are good people in every race, but there are also greedy people. In the past, I was like you, afraid of everyone in the human race. However, after meeting Master, I realized that many people are willing to give up their lives to protect others. They do not regret dying, and they are worthy of respect." After a long while, Yi Qinghan stopped his epiphany and opened his eyes. He looked at the young girl with reverence in his eyes. Her strength had already reached the pinnacle. "Perhaps, you're right. We can't generalize." The girl slowly turned around and said indifferently, "Come with me." Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were helpless. They did not expect such an existence to exist in this space. They could only follow her. The three of them continued forward and soon arrived at a valley. The valley was penetrated by a stream. At that moment, Yi Qinghan sensed a warm elemental energy wandering around. It was the light elemental energy that he had discovered earlier. It was very dense here. After the girl entered the valley, she opened her eyes. Her performance was almost the same as Emperor Ye's earlier performance. However, her eyes were more terrifying. In the outside world, they could petrify great emperors and pierce through their stone sculptures. However, here, they were crystal clear. They were like the endless universe, vast and boundless, dotted with stars. One look at them would cause one to lose their sense of direction. On one side of the valley, there were many weapons. The shiny gold was piled up like a mountain. The girl seemed to like these glowing objects and had collected many weapons. There were divine martial Dao weapons, quasi-emperor weapons, pseudo-extreme emperor weapons, and even a few extreme emperor weapons. There were hammers, axes, longbows, short swords, and even daggers. Yi Qinghan stared blankly. Any one of the treasures here could be taken out to guard an area. Especially the longbow. It radiated divinity and was rich with Emperor's aura. It was obviously an Emperor weapon. However, it had been conquered by the girl. It stood quietly on the spot and did not move at all. If I use this divine bow to unleash the 9 stars chasing moon stacked explosion technique, even if it does not awaken, it can kill a great perfection divine martial realm expert with one arrow. Yi Qinghan muttered in his heart. However, he did not dare to touch these treasures. This girl looked peerless, but she would not be merciful when it came to killing. You can pick one if you like, but you're only allowed to take one. If you take one more, you'll be like the stone statue outside, forever standing in this divine nether space. The young girl said to Yi Qinghan indifferently. "Thank you, Senior. If Senior likes it, I can exchange it with you. You can take whatever you like." Yi Qinghan waved his hand and countless treasures poured out of his universe ring. There were many top-grade spirit crystals that emitted a golden light. There were more than 10 luminous pearls. They were all used for illumination. They were very big and emitted a blue light. These things were practically useless to cultivators. However, the girl reached out and took all of them. With a wave of her hand, a thin string appeared in her hand. It directly pierced through the pearls and formed a necklace. She wore it around her neck and gently turned it. Yi Qinghan's heartbeat sped up when he saw it. "This is it. Put away your other junk. Don't dirty my delicate place," the girl said without any trace of politeness. Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely. He had collected a large amount of top-grade spirit crystals, top-grade spirit crystals, and level 6 and even level 7 pills. These were all precious treasures, but in the eyes of this girl, they were just junk. This girl's standards were too high. Emperor Yi smiled. He realized that this girl was actually not that scary. She was still very pure in her bones. Yi Qinghan smiled embarrassedly. With a wave of his hand, he kept all the treasures. He walked towards the godly bough without any trace of politeness. He grabbed the bough that was half a man's height. He realized that it weighed at least 10,000 jin. When he pulled the bowstring, his azure dragon arm exploded. He could only draw a crescent shape. However, the penetrative power was absolutely terrifying. It would be easy for him to kill a 9th-stage immortal. Including this godly bough, Yi Qinghan had 4 more Apex Emperor weapons. Unfortunately, this godly bough did not seem to have a spirit. The spirit of the bough was killed by the girl and its power was reduced by half. There were pros and cons to not having a spirit of the bough. The pros were that Yi Qinghan could drip his blood on it and cultivate his own spirit of the bough. The cons were that it was not strong enough now. Yi Qinghan just dripped his blood on it and the girl said, "I will send you away. Do not resist. If you fall into the ultimate heaven sea, I will not be responsible." Yi Qinghan frowned and asked solemnly, "What about my son? You are not really planning to leave her behind, right? I am too bored here. She will stay with me for a period of time. When you are strong enough, you can come and pick her up. Don't worry, I will not gouge out her eyes." The girl's indifferent tone was filled with determination. There was no room for argument. This caused Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's expressions to change slightly. How could Yi Qinghan be at ease leaving Emperor Yi with such a temperamental creature? Just as he was about to retort, the girl said coldly, "You have to agree even if you don't want to. Otherwise, I will throw all of you into the ultimate heaven sea." Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. This barbaric creature was truly unreasonable. Emperor Yi hurriedly pulled Yi Qinghan back and whispered, "Senior does not have any ill intentions. You should leave first. Perhaps if there is a chance, I can bring Senior to the endless universe to find you. I will allow you to choose one more thing. Once you take it, I will immediately send you away. If you do not leave after an incense stick's worth of time, I will send her to the ultimate heaven sea," the girl threatened as she pointed at Emperor Yi. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. This creature seemed to know his weakness. He had no choice but to compromise. He then looked around and searched for the light origin. This was a treasure that could help one's origin grow and increase one's perception of the great Tao and law. After searching for a long time, Yi Qinghan saw a huge bamboo forest with a courtyard surrounded by water. The scenery was so beautiful that one would not want to leave. The light origin is here. Yi Qinghan walked along the bamboo bridge to the courtyard. Just as he was about to open the door, the girl said coldly, "If you dare enter, I will kill you." Yi Qinghan scratched his head and smiled bitterly. "The thing I want is in the room, the light element." The girl frowned and asked unhappily. "Yes. If it is not convenient for Senior, I do not want it," Yi Qinghan said when he saw how much the girl valued the light element. "I cannot give you the light element. Otherwise, this space will lose its vitality." The girl rejected without hesitation. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "I am sorry. I did not know about this. Do you want to continue wasting time? You should know that this space is almost eternally stagnant. Every breath you take here is equivalent to a month outside." The girl reminded him coldly. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were both shocked and worried about the Kuang sect situation. At this moment, outside Emperor Abyss City in the Endless Universe's monarch domain, hundreds of peerless experts had set up a huge arena. Only one of them was a boundary emperor who had set up a formation. Once the formation was activated, the battle would not end until one of them was dead. The Tao Realm Sacred Grounds, Sage Monarch Tribe, and myriad beast imperial tribe had lost many experts. The disciples of the hidden sects were constantly provoking the Kuang sect. If the Kuang sect did not fight, they would lose all prestige. I represent the Kuang sect's Grand Elder. If you want to challenge me, come on up. Gu Qinyu stepped onto the battle ring with his sword in hand. He stared at the dozens of powerful experts from the secluded sects and clans across the battle ring and said coldly. His cold aura filled the sword Dao. His battle intent, sword and killing intent radiated. I, Lei Kuang of the Yin Yang Thunder Tribe, will kill you. Whoosh, a figure flashed by. It was a young expert of the Thunder Tribe. He exuded the profound meaning of thunder. Lightning surrounded his golden body. He was an 8th stage immortal, 3 stages higher than Gu Qinyu. His combat strength was extraordinary, but he was not the strongest of the younger generation of the Thunder Tribe. Whoosh! Lei Kuang formed a seal with his palms and mobilized the monarch domain heavenly thunder. Lightning flashed in the sky and thunder rumbled, suppressing the Dao hearts of the experts. Kill! A bolt of lightning tore through space and time and attacked Gu Qinyu like a dragon. Hum! Gu Qinyu was indifferent. His fingertips moved the scabbard and he pulled out his sword. The sword light pierced through the clouds. Before anyone could react, he had already sheathed his sword. A strand of fierce and domineering sword chi destroyed Lei Kuang's vitality. Blood flowed from his neck and his eyes were full of fear and despair. Chapter 323. This was a battle to the death. Both sides hated and looked down on each other. The active Dao realm holy lands and human race experts hated the hidden aristocratic clans. When the endless universe was in danger, they were afraid of death. But now, they came out to fight for the fruits of victory. Hatred was inevitable. As for the hidden aristocratic clans, they were born with arrogance in their bones. They disdained these so-called princes, thinking that they were nothing more than clowns. Both sides killed. The Dao realm holy lands and the Saint Monarch tribe lost 14 people, while the hidden wealthy families only lost 1. Their hatred grew stronger and stronger. After the battle, Gu Qinyu left the arena. Lei Kuang's corpse was taken away, angering the Thunder God. Shua! Thunder God stepped onto the arena and looked at the people of the insane sect. He said indifferently, the strongest of the insane sect, come up. I'll crush you to pieces. The insane sect was furious. There were many elders and protectors, all of them super experts. The Yin-Yang sect's first disciple dared to provoke them like this. Brother, I hate it when people are arrogant in front of me. Help me kill this bastard and this divine bird will get you a good treasure. The parrot said angrily to Zi Tian. Zi Tian laughed. Although he was from a hidden family, he was someone who had experienced the defensive battle. He was not like the Yin-Yang 8. Okay, don't worry, big brother. I'll help you tear his head off. Zi Tian was very strong. He stepped onto the arena and stunned Thunder God. Zi Tian, aren't you from the Qilin bloodline family? Aren't you from a hidden wealthy family? Why are you helping the insane sect? Thunder God said angrily. Because I'm from the insane sect. Thunder God, we haven't seen each other for many years. I don't know if you can block my Qilin divine fist. Zi Tian's aura exploded. The Qilin bloodline was awakened, almost reaching the level of ancestral awakening. He swallowed the drop of Qilin blood essence, increasing his battle strength by several times. He clenched his fist and his blood chi suppressed Thunder God. Thunder God was shocked. He suddenly felt that his perception of the thunder origin had decreased by more than 10 times. He asked in shock, "You've reached ancestral awakening with the Qilin blood?" "Almost, but killing you is as easy as slaughtering a dog. My big brother wants me to take your life. Good luck." Crack, with a crisp sound, the purple sky iron fist shattered the void. The Qilin's blood essence boiled and roared. It was as if a wild divine beast had descended. Purple light shot out from its eyes and its purple robes fluttered in the wind. With a single kick, it shook the entire arena as it attacked the Thunder God with lightning speed. Thunder God Hammer. Boom! The God of Thunder summoned his natal divine weapon, the divine martial weapon, the Thunder God Hammer, which boosted his understanding of the origin of thunder. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, and lightning flashed. A deafening thunder rumbled. The first punch, earth-shattering and heaven-shaking. Whoosh! Purple Heaven's arms were covered in purple chi. Even his immortal robes had been shattered. There was a large amount of purple scales on the iron wall, just like the arms of a Qilin. The friction between his iron fists produced flames, burning the air above the arena. The stars in the sky flickered and fluctuated continuously, as if the sea of stars was trembling. Boom! The iron fist smashed onto the Thunder God's hammer, and the shockwave rushed towards the Boundary Emperor's formation. Thousands of rays of divine light shot up into the sky and attracted the attention of many strong cultivators. Even the strong cultivators of the divine martial realm were embarrassed. These young and terrifying cultivators were too powerful. It was not difficult for them to kill mid-level divine martial realm cultivators. Thud, 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 the God of Thunder was shocked. It was as if the hammer had smashed onto his chest. His face turned pale, and his breathing stopped. The second punch, earth-shattering. Whoosh! Instead of retreating, Tian advanced. His speed was extremely fast, and his moves were as smooth as flowing water. His left hand grabbed onto the Thunder God's hammer, and his right fist smashed towards the opponent's head. The God of Thunder was shocked. He unleashed all his battle strength, and the space was shattered by him. However, Tian was faster than him. He followed the trajectory of the Thunder God's hammer and grabbed his right hand. His left hand locked onto the God of Thunder's wrist, and his right fist formed a circle and smashed towards the God of Thunder's temple. The God of Thunder was shocked. He realized that his right hand was caught by a dragon claw, and he could not resist at all. He could only raise his left arm and elbow Tian's fist, hoping to stop his attack. Both of them were terrifyingly powerful. Their attacks were shocking. Many people's faces twitched as they stared at the battlefield. Die! Tian was overbearing. He threw a punch and hit the God of Thunder's elbow. The terrifying power smashed through the God of Thunder's arm and hit his head. Kacha, ah! The God of Thunder screamed miserably. His face was ferocious. His left arm was crippled, and his head was almost smashed out of shape. His golden body slammed into the formation, causing blood to spray out in all directions. Even his golden body was torn apart. Pooh! The God of Thunder's body fell heavily onto the stage, and he almost fainted. His life force dissipated, and his battle strength decreased by more than half. Tian was too powerful. The Qilin Divine Fist had a total of 6 punches, and each punch was more terrifying than the last. The second punch caused the Yin-Yang 8 Division's Thunder Division's head disciple to bleed. Seeing that the God of Thunder was still struggling, Tian smiled. Although the iron wall was bleeding, it did not affect his battle strength. The third punch, battle the heavens and battle the earth. Roar! A huge divine beast phantom appeared behind Tian. It was one of the legendary Qilin divine beasts, the purple Qilin. The Qilin roared and charged towards the God of Thunder. Its aura was enough to kill a 9th-stage immortal sex emperor. Boom! A punch landed on the chest of the God of Thunder, who had just gotten up. The Qilin's blood chi instantly killed the God of Thunder's life force. Kacha, Tian's fist turned into an elbow strike and landed on the God of Thunder's neck. His elbow was like a divine weapon, and it directly broke the God of Thunder's head. With a twist, a super expert of a generation died on the spot. Good. Good brother, you are indeed worthy of being this divine bird's brother. Well done. The parrot laughed arrogantly, and said to the hidden experts in disdain, this divine bird wants to see who dares to be so arrogant. The Yinyang 8 divisions were enraged. This was the first time in 1,000 years that the head disciple of the 8 divisions had been killed by an outsider. All the hidden experts stared at the side of the endless universe. They had been defeated twice by the Kuang sect. This was a humiliation to them, and they wanted revenge. The parrot also noticed the murderous intent in their eyes. He quickly gathered everyone and whispered, it's our turn to go first. The next one has to be careful. They will definitely send out a super expert regardless of their reputation. Let me do it. Feng Wuxia had always been unknown. After returning from the endless space, he had undergone a qualitative change. Perhaps the hidden experts would look down on him, and this was his only chance. Feng Wuxia walked towards the arena silently, and did not show any signs of strength. He looked like a handsome young master from a rich family, and did not look like a cultivator at all. This attracted the ridicule of the crowd. Just as a strong expert was about to step out, he was stopped by Zhe Ken. Zhe Ken smiled coldly and stepped onto the arena. His murderous intent filled the air. The parrot frowned and looked at Feng Wuxia. He was only at the 5th stage of the Immortal Gate, and Zhe Ken was at the 9th stage. Not to mention his combat strength, his chances of winning were very low. I am Feng Wuxia, I never care to know the name of a dead man. Whoosh! The golden dragon sword was so fast that it tore through space. In the blink of an eye, Zhe Ken had pierced Feng Wuxia's throat. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Zhe Ken's strength was unimaginable. The Kuang sect was shocked. They did not expect Zhe Ken to be so strong. Zi Tian's pupils constricted, and he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. This was because Feng Wuxia had dodged the fatal blow without any warning. Zhe Ken had only pierced through Feng Wuxia's afterimage. As the afterimage dissipated, Zhe Ken wasn't surprised at all. He only calmly said, I didn't know that you had such a deep understanding of the wind's profound meaning. However, to me, this is just a small trick. In my eyes, any secret technique is incomplete. Zhe Ken suddenly disappeared, and the void was filled with sword shadows and sharp sword chi. It was neither strong nor fast, and even the great formation of a quasi-emperor had been pierced through. His attack enveloped the entire arena, and no one could rely on dodging to withstand his attack, unless someone proved that they could defeat him. Feng Wuxia's calm face finally changed. Even if he turned into wind, he was still beaten into a human form. Even the wind element could be killed by Zhe Ken. In just a short moment, he had been hit twice. Although he had dodged the fatal attack, the difference in cultivation level was too great, and he could not take it head-on. Path of incomplete martial arts, incomplete man style. Whoosh! A cold golden light flashed, and the sword chi disappeared from the quasi-emperor array. It pierced through the clouds and rushed into the universe. The parrot shouted, fuck, you bastard. Another inheritor of the incomplete martial arts. This is not fair. The difference in cultivation level is so big, how can we fight? Humph, what's fair? Which great emperor doesn't defeat those of the same cultivation level, and even fight across realms? Nangong Powu sneered. Everyone from the insane sect was silent. When the great emperor was young, he could indeed defeat those of the same cultivation level. When he was in the first tier of the Immortal Gate, he could defeat anyone below the Immortal Martial stage. He could even defeat the princes of the hidden sections. However, Feng Wuxia had just started to transform, and the gap between him and the great emperor was too big. Moreover, the inheritor of the incomplete martial arts was not something that ordinary princes could compare to. Everyone stared at the arena with their eyes wide open. No matter how fast Feng Wuxia was, he could not withstand Zhe Ken's killing move. His origin was injured, and he reverted to his original form. His chest was pierced through, and before anyone could say anything, Jiqin used his destructive qi to suppress half of Feng Wuxia's life force. Puff! Feng Wuxia coughed up blood and flew backward. His eyes were full of unwillingness. He struggled to stand up, but Jiqin used the space law and appeared in front of him. His sword pierced through Feng Wuxia's sea of qi, and the terrifying great Tao of destruction shattered mountains and rivers, directly shattering his body. No! Shi Ge was furious, and he roared hoarsely. He watched his cousin, who he had fought since childhood, being killed. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was filled with murderous intent. An elder from the insane sect had fallen. He was only 30 years old, and to cultivators, he was like a child. Boom! Everyone from the insane sect stood up. Their battle intent was monstrous, and their murderous intent was extremely dense. At this point, they were destined to fight to the death. No one would hold back. You will regret this. Jian Qinshue's voice was as cold as ice, and it smashed into Jiqin's heart. Jiqin's lips curled up, and he said indifferently, "This is a battle of life and death. If you want revenge, I will accompany you anytime." Chapter 324. This was just a battle to determine the winner. If they wanted to kill him, they would have to wait until his next battle. The premise was that the Kuang sect and the rest could survive until the end. Each person could only fight once. Unless there was only one person left on their side, they could fight continuously. This was the rule. The hidden experts wanted to kill all the princes. Who's next? Jian Qinshu asked with murderous intent. At this moment, everyone knew that whoever went up first would be the unlucky one. Other than the one who was going to fight, the other party could go up as they wished. Normally, they would choose someone stronger and kill them. Other than the fifth mad god, no one dared to show up at this moment. At this moment, Shen Ke gestured for one of his followers to step forward. In a low voice, he said, "Wang Luan, kill him. Force Yi Qinghan out as fast as you can." The expert named Wang Luan was expressionless. He stepped into the arena without any murderous intent. However, his murderous intent was already spreading. The sixth tier of the Immortal Gate did not seem too strong. Although there was a gap between the ninth tier, he still needed to gain experience. "Let me do it." Li Zhicheng's vigorous face was filled with battle intent. He held the dragon suppression seal and stepped into the arena. No one stopped him. This was not only a battle to the death, but also an experience. When Wang Luan saw that it was a junior, disdain appeared on his face. He knew that his mission this time was completed. Whoosh, a sword light illuminated the 9 heavens. As soon as Wang Luan attacked, many elders of the Kuang sect were shocked. This guy was already strong enough to be crowned as a king. He could fight against a 9th tier existence. Li Zhicheng threw out the dragon suppression seal. His palms kept forming seals in front of him to block the attack. When the two attacks collided, Li Zhicheng used the advantage of the pseudo-extreme Dao monarch weapon to push Wang Luan back dozens of steps. Suppress. 10 fingers interlocked, forming seals. The dragon suppression seal turned into a huge seal that covered the sky. The pressure caused the arena to crack. Dark clouds rolled up in the sky outside the formation. The huge seal fell from the sky and smashed towards Wang Luan. Wang Luan frowned. He didn't expect that a junior with mediocre talent like Li Zhicheng would actually have a sealed pseudo-extreme Dao Emperor weapon. His figure flashed and he didn't retreat. Instead, he rushed towards Li Zhicheng. He knew that he couldn't fight the dragon suppression seal to the death. He had to kill Li Zhicheng first before the dragon suppression seal would lose control. Whoosh! Wang Luan turned into a streak of sword light, flickering on the stage, constantly dodging the dragon suppressing seal, getting closer and closer to Li Zhicheng. Li Jiucheng's eyes were tightly shut, because at this time his eyes could no longer keep up with his opponent's trajectory. His divine sense firmly locked onto Wang Luan, and he controlled the dragon-suppressing seal to smash at him. We can't retreat. You mustn't retreat. If you do, the enemy will seize the opportunity to kill you. Many elders of the crazy sect frowned. They did not expect Wang Luan's speed to be so fast. Wang Luan had even comprehended the law of space. He was 5 whole realms away from the 9th level. The distance between them was getting closer and closer. Seeing that Wang Luan was about to kill Li Jiuzhong with his sword, little Li was frightened and tears streamed down her face. Stan Wuxia clenched his iron fists tightly, his steel-like teeth shattering. His qi and blood exploded as he was about to charge into the battlefield. Die! Wang Luan's speed suddenly increased. His figure flashed and disappeared from Li Jiucheng's sight. When he reappeared, the sword had already pierced through his chest. Li Jiucheng roared as he grabbed the opponent's divine weapon with both hands and controlled the dragon-suppressing seal to smash himself. Whoosh! The dragon-suppressing seal shattered the void, directly drowning Wang Luan and Li Jiucheng. Wang Luan was shocked. He abandoned his sword and tried to escape, but he still could not escape from the dragon-suppressing seal. Boom! The dragon-suppressing seal directly smashed the stage and kept shrinking, just enough to suppress Wang Luan. A dignified emperor of a generation was smashed into meat paste. Blood flowed out from the stage in all directions. It was extremely terrifying. Li Jiucheng spat out a mouthful of essence blood and fell straight to the ground. His face was full of death qi, without any vitality. Boom! Stan Wuxia was one step faster. He directly hugged Li Jiucheng and found that the sword had pierced through his heart. Li Jiucheng's flame of life was extinguished at any time. Whoosh! Jian Qinxue went onto the stage and directly froze Li Jiucheng's body, preserving his life. Whether he could survive or not would depend on his own fortune. Unless a great emperor personally appeared to extend his life. In this battle, the Kuang sect had lost another pillar. The parrot was a bit angry. At this time, they could not act recklessly. If they did, the Kuang sect would really be destroyed. In this battle, be careful of the Yin-Yang family, the 5th mad god, and Nangong Pou. The Yin-Yang family's Yin-Yang fusion qi is all-pervasive. It can ignore Jin Yuan defense. The 5th mad god's attack is unparalleled. You can refer to Nangong Pou's martial arts. Everyone, think carefully before you fight. Don't act recklessly. The parrot reminded. I'll do it. A dignified voice came from afar, causing the ground to tremble. Everyone turned around and saw a strong and vigorous man carrying a huge axe walking towards them. Nye Tian. This guy had disappeared for a long time, but he was not late. The Kuang sect lacked experts. The parrot's eyes flashed. Nye Tian was a super expert of strength, similar to Yi Qinghan. His martial arts were a mess. He learned every martial art he found in the eternal battlefield. He was extremely talented and knew almost everything. This kind of person was born to fight. Boom! Nye Tian carried the huge axe and stepped onto the stage. He directly shattered the broken stage and shook all the debris out of the quasi-emperor formation. He said coldly, "A battle to the death is a battle to the death. What's the point of setting up a stage? It's a burden." The corners of the mouth of the people from the hidden wealthy families twitched. It seemed that this big man was a boor. Come, come, come. Hurry up. I'm in a hurry. Nye Tian shouted coldly. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The Yin-Yang family's expert of Yin-Yang stepped out of the crowd. There was a waning moon on his shoulder. The moon was Yin, and the sun was Yang. Among the 8 divisions of Yin and Yang, besides the main division, Yin and Yang were the strongest. The yin-yang break was extremely powerful. The great Tao of yin wrapped around his body, and the surrounding airflow surged. Offense was the strongest defense of the yin-yang family. If the opponent could not resist, there was no need to defend. Nie Tian waited for the yin-yang break to enter the formation. He grabbed the handle of the huge axe with his big hand. The ground trembled and sank, showing the weight of the huge axe. Nobody, you don't need to know my name. The yin-yang break stepped into the battle circle and formed a seal with his palms. The airflow turned into a huge blade. The combination of yin and yang was the yin-yang school's most powerful secret technique. It could ignore the enemy's defense and directly destroy their vitality. I've never been interested in the names of dead people. Come, bastard. Nie Tian did not give him any face. He held the huge axe with both hands. The huge axe emitted a divine light. You're courting death. Break. The yin-yang break formed the seal with his palms very quickly. The airflow around him turned into countless sharp blades that filled the entire space and rushed toward Nie Tian. Once it got close, even a perfect divine martial expert could not do anything. Boom! Nie Tian brandished the huge axe and split the earth. Then, he lifted the huge axe up and blocked part of the attack in front of him. Then, he brandished the huge axe in a huge circle. The huge axe shone brightly as it disrupted his opponent's yin-yang fusion airflow and turned the attack of the yin-yang break into his own attack. Then, he brandished the huge axe and smashed it forward. The huge axe burst out with a terrifying power that soared into the starry river. The flying earth was shattered by the airflow, and the yin-yang fusion airflow rushed towards Nie Tian, colliding with the chaos power. Nie Tian's attack directly penetrated the yin-yang fusion airflow and arrived in front of the yin-yang break in the blink of an eye. The yin-yang break was shocked. His most powerful attack could not block Nie Tian's axe. The force of the yin-yang break from the axe was a force he had never seen before. It could destroy everything. Whoosh! Puff! The force of the yin-yang break and the huge axe's sharpness pierced into the body of the yin-yang break at the same time, killing the top 3 experts of the yin-yang school in a flash. Natural enemy, Nie Tian was the natural enemy of the yin-yang school. His strength was too terrifying. The force of the yin-yang school was unstoppable. Trash! How dare trash like you come out and make a fuss? Nie Tian turned around and left after killing the man. He did not even say goodbye to the people of the Kuang sect. It seemed that he was in a hurry. The people of the yin-yang school were furious. They wanted to join forces to stop Nie Tian, but they were stopped by Diwu Kuang God. Don't break the rules. Otherwise, some ants will say that we, the hidden forces, have no courage, Diwu Kuang God said coldly. Once again, it was time for the experts from the reclusive great clans to fight. This time, Diwu Tianhe walked out and shouted with a sinister expression, Yi Qinghan, if you have the guts, don't hide. Come out and give me back my imperial weapon. The people of the Kuang sect frowned. They did not know where Yi Qinghan was. Only Nangong Po knew. Wasn't he taking advantage of the situation to make a fuss? Yi Qinghan is dead. Your emperor weapon is in the depths of the ultimate heaven sea. Do you want to go get it yourself? Zhe Ken said disdainfully. Diwu Tianhe's face turned ugly. He lost the emperor weapon. If he could not get it back this time, he would definitely be punished by his family. Losing the emperor weapon was not a small crime. Yi Qinghan, you piece of trash. How could you be dead? Come out. Don't hide your head and show your tail like a coward. Diwu Tianhe shouted angrily. He was not willing to let the emperor weapon fall into the ultimate heaven sea. Master is not here. I'll fight on behalf of my master. It's more than enough to kill you. See, Wuxia couldn't stand someone insulting Yi Qinghan. Ignoring everyone's advice, he charged into the battlefield. His golden bloodline erupted, suppressing everything within 1,000 miles. Even the Boundary Emperor's grand formation couldn't restrain his golden bloodline. His golden hair and golden eyes were captivating. Golden bloodline. Diwu Quan God frowned. As the younger brother of the Diwu Great Emperor, how could he not know about the golden bloodline? Killing such a genius would be punished by the heavens. He was really worried that Diwu Tianhe's brain would cramp and kill Si Wuxia directly. Fight on behalf of your master. Then die for him. Boom. Diwu Tianhe hated the people of the crazy sect to the core. He wanted to kill one of them immediately to vent his anger. He directly used the second move of the heavenly sea realm. Second page flipping sun and moon, die. Boom. Vital essence poured out and gathered the sun and moon. It descended from the top of the sky and shattered the earth. It was going to destroy the mountains and rivers. Roar. Si Wuxia felt the threat of death. He raised his head and roared. His golden bloodline was completely activated. He was like a roaring lion. His golden hair fluttered in the wind. His entire body was like gold, emitting light. He punched the sun and moon with his iron fist. The crazy explosion of the golden bloodline, even at the cost of burning his life force, shook everyone until their blood was boiling. Even Yi Qinghan, who was tens of thousands of miles away, could feel it clearly. Suddenly, his expression changed. He merged with the god-slaying eagle and flapped his wings, soaring up to 90,000 miles. Chapter 325. Even the sovereign domain was alarmed, and the boundary emperors who were preparing to go into hiding came out. Stan Wuxia's golden blood qi had never exploded like this before. It was as if Stan Wuxia had descended from the heavens. The aura of a true human emperor was majestic and vast. He's burning his life force. Everyone was shocked. Burning his life force at such a young age, even if he didn't die this time, the damage to his foundation would be irreversible. Stan Wuxia would no longer be able to fight for the position. Bastard! Open the formation. Diwu Quangshan was furious. He knew what the golden blood qi represented. How could it be ruined like this? No matter who won or lost this battle, Diwu Tianhe would be the biggest loser. He would be the sinner of the human race, and even the fate of the Diwu family would be affected. All the boundary emperors flew over. Unfortunately, the golden blood qi burned too quickly. With the support of the burning speed, Stan Wuxia's combat power instantly exceeded the divine martial realm. He punched through the sun and moon, piercing through the sky, and arrived in front of Diwu Tianhe. Die! Stan Wuxia was like an angry dragon as he attacked Diwu Tianhe. Diwu Tianhe was shocked. He never thought that this would happen. The second style of his heavenly scroll of Dao Si was enough to fight against a beginner divine martial realm, but in front of Stan Wuxia, it was as fragile as a piece of paper. Now that Stan Wuxia was right in front of him, he didn't have the chance to dodge or use the third style. He could only roar and gather half of his combat power in a hurry to meet the attack. Boom! The two iron fists collided, and blood and bones shattered. Diwu Tianhe's entire right arm was shattered. He turned into a bloody mist, and his body smashed into the boundary emperor's formation like a kite with a broken string. His skin was torn apart, and he fell to the ground and fainted. Stan Wuxia stood on the spot, and his pupils emitted a terrifying light. He didn't move for a long time. Boom! The boundary emperor's formation was torn apart by the boundary emperors. Everyone from the crazy sect rushed into the battlefield and found that Stan Wuxia had already fainted. His terrifying willpower was supporting him to stand. He had consumed more than half of his origin, and could no longer be considered a true golden blood qi. The price he paid for this battle was too great. He had lost the qualification to fight for the position of the great emperor. The human race was enraged, the myriad races were enraged, and even the quasi-emperors were enraged. At this time, the golden bloodline had actually lost the qualification to compete for the throne because of internal strife. This was the endless universe's shame and immeasurable loss. However, not only did the people of the hidden wealthy families not feel regretful, but they were also gloating. In their opinion, even if the dead spirits were to attack the endless universe, they would not attack the hidden wealthy families. The fact that the human race had no emperor had nothing to do with them. Only the Diwu mad god was furious. It was not that he felt sorry for Tan Wuxia, but he was worried that the heavenly punishment would affect the fate of the Diwu family and affect his Tao attainment. Bastard! If it weren't for the fact that you're my brother's grandson, I would have killed you myself. Diwu Quangshan took out a golden pill and placed it directly into Diwu Tianhe's mouth. It melted as soon as it entered his mouth, and he woke up not long after. However, he was still in a daze and kept muttering to himself. Obviously, he was stunned by Stan Wuxia's punch, and his Tao heart was a little unstable. Go back to your family. Without my order, if you dare to come out again, I'll kill you myself. Diwu Quangshan roared. Although the quasi-emperors were angry, they did not lose their minds. Diwu Quangshan was the younger brother of the Diwu Great Emperor, and his seniority was terrifyingly high. They still had to give him face. After all, Tan Wuxia was already crippled. There was no need to offend a future great perfection boundary emperor for a piece of trash. The Quanzong sect had no reason to stop him. This was the agreement. Nye Tian had left after killing him, so they could only let Diwu Tianhe leave. Jian Qinshue's expression was ugly. She could only freeze Tan Wuxia again. The origin of the golden bloodline was damaged. This was unprecedented. No one knew how to nourish and repair the origin of the golden bloodline. The Quanzong sect was completely furious. They did not want to let the younger generation take any more risks. Jian Qinshui went up directly, looking coldly at the hidden wealthy families. She clenched her fist, and the earth was frozen. Diwu Quangshan and the others did not want to fight with a woman. In the end, they forced an ordinary expert of the Xian sect to go up and die. Jian Qinshui was slightly angry. She looked at Nangong Powu with disdain and said, "Nangong Powu, don't you dare to come up." Nangong Powu smiled faintly and said eerily, "Just a little girl. I'm not interested." The expert of the Xian sect looked embarrassed. Since Jian Qinshui dared to challenge Nangong Powu, her combat strength was not something he could compete with. This was really suicide. There was no other way. After all, Xian Hualong was killed in advance. Jian Qinshui looked coldly at the expert of the Xian sect. Her aura increased greatly. Her will froze thousands of miles. Snow flew in the air, and the ice on the ground wrapped around the expert. He was instantly frozen, and even his soul was suppressed. The expert of the hidden wealthy families changed his expression slightly. Jian Qinshui's strength was beyond imagination. She could kill the expert of the Xian sect with her will alone. Jian Qinshui went down. The head disciple of the Yinyang Fire sect, Yinyang Fire Dragon, went up aggressively. He wanted to fight the emperor and saint. Zhang Gu rushed up without hesitation. His fighting spirit soared. The Zhan family and the Yinyang family were both families of the barbaric era. Their temperament was unparalleled. The real experts did not move, but their auras soared to the sky. They relied on each other's momentum to suppress the opponent. The Yinyang Fire Dragon emitted the origin of fire, burning everything. The ground turned into nothingness. The terrifying flame was like a fire dragon, exuding a scorching temperature. The two fought directly without any nonsense. At this time, they would not stop until one of them was dead. What sects and wealthy families? What emperors bearing? Even Si Wuxia's golden origin was destroyed. Who else could not be killed? The formation was turned upside down. Spear will and fighting spirit filled the air. The origin of fire almost enveloped the entire space. Even the quasi-emperor formation was about to be ignited. The two's combat strength was similar. They were fighting with their will and fighting spirit. Zhang Gu was slightly better, but the Yin-Yang Fire Dragon's secret technique was strange. It broke through Zhang Ji's defense continuously. Zhang Gu coughed up blood. Yang Zhan raised his golden spear and stared at the battlefield. The human race had suffered heavy casualties. If they lost this battle, they would not be able to recover their losses. They would lose half of their momentum. Whoosh! Two fire dragons suddenly rolled up in the formation. They crazily attacked each other and intertwined. There was a loud roar that was deafening. Zhang Gu and the Yin-Yang Fire Dragon coughed up blood at the same time and fell backward. They crashed into the formation and smashed into the ground. Both of them fainted at the same time. It was a draw. It was a draw. The human race lost another powerful contestant. The people of the Tao Realm Holy Land and the arrogant sect looked terrible. At least half of the chief disciples of the secluded sects had not fought yet. They had lost so many experts and 3 of them were seriously injured. Were they really going to be wiped out this time? The morale of the Tao Realm Holy Land and the myriad tribes was low. Even the parrot could not think of a solution. This was completely random. No one could control it. Overall, the human race's combat strength was higher than the Tao Realm Holy Land's. It was the turn of the endless universe again. At this time, the juniors who wanted to fight were suppressed. The rest were those who did not want to fight. Long Qiong, Yang Zhan, Qitian Monkey King, and the others all targeted Diwu Guangxin and the people of the Yin-Yang family and the remnant sect. They could not fight at will. The people of the arrogant sect were silent. Immediately, it attracted the ridicule of the hidden experts. The arrogant sect was very passive. No matter who went up, they might not be able to survive because the other party would definitely send out stronger experts to fight. What's wrong? Aren't you very arrogant? Are your legs weak? Such a weakling dares to call himself the arrogant sect. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. The hidden experts were encouraged by the superclass experts and started to provoke them. Shi Gu was about to fight, but Muyo Tianxin pressed his shoulder. Don't be rash. If we fight again, we will definitely attract the real superclass experts. We are still young, at most 100 years old. The other party has been cultivating for hundreds of years. The gap is too big. We still have time. Play slowly, Xia Chiyue reminded in a low voice. Xia Ziluo's mouth twitched. Seeing the other party humiliating the arrogant sect, she was about to enter the arena when a strong wind suddenly blew in the sky. Many low-level immortal sect emperors were swept away. A terrifying murderous aura shrouded the mountains and rivers. The experts outside the Imperial Abyss City were shocked and looked up at the void. A pair of wings covered the sky and the stars moved. Riding the wind and breaking the waves, it appeared in the Imperial domain. The entire Imperial domain fell into darkness. Screech! The goshawk let out a mournful cry. Its sharp claws tore through the mountains and rivers. Its 8th grade divine aura was vast and mighty. 8th grade god-slaying eagle. The experts of the 10,000 races were shocked. An 8th grade god-slaying eagle had appeared. What exactly did it eat? This is impossible. This kind of god-slaying eagle is at most 4th grade. It's already heaven-defying if it can grow to 5th grade. Yi Qinghan has already broken the record by cultivating it to 7th grade. How can an 8th grade one appear now? Feng Ling was the emperor of birds. She had the last right to speak about flying beasts. At this moment, her expression changed greatly. Look, isn't that Master's god-slaying eagle? The people of the arrogant sect were excited. Huang Xiaohu pointed at the edge of the imperial domain and shouted. The people of the arrogant sect all stood up. The parrot was overjoyed. It could still recognize Yi Qinghan's aura. After all, with the power of the contract, it could sense Yi Qinghan the moment he appeared in the imperial domain. Its master. Ha ha ha, a bunch of little bastards. I'll let you all be arrogant. I'll kill you all later. The parrot was even more arrogant. Its small eyes widened as if they could see through the origin of everything. It looked at the young man standing on the head of the god-slaying eagle at the edge of the imperial domain. He held a 7-foot saber in his hand. He was bold and powerful, like an indomitable god of war. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the god-slaying eagle's speed became faster and faster, alarming the quasi-emperors. Although the 8th-grade god-slaying eagle's realm did not rise, the grade of its bloodline did. As long as there were heavenly materials and earthly treasures, the god-slaying eagle could easily break through and become a fake emperor. Nangong Powu was furious. Zhe Ken also frowned. Obviously, they did not believe that Yi Qinghan had escaped from the depths of the ultimate sky sea. This was as unacceptable as the revival of the divine martial emperor. Thud thud thud, Nangong Powu was hit by the energy and took a few steps back. There was a touch of horror in his eyes. At this moment, he also saw a man standing on the head of the god-slaying eagle. What else could that be if not Berserker? Chapter 326. Outside Emperor Abyss City, there was dead silence. Then, cheers and roars erupted from the city walls. Nangong Powu's face was ashen as he scolded Zhe Ken, "Where did you send him? Didn't you say he was in the depths of ultimate heaven ocean? Who is he then?" Zhe Ken was also stunned. He had no idea what was going on. Ultimate heaven ocean blocked all Dao techniques and heaven secrets. Once one was in the depths, it was impossible to return. How did Yi Qinghan do it? Master. Brother Yi. Everyone was shocked but not happy. Zhong Kuang had lost 3 generals and Feng Wuxia had died. They couldn't be happy. Shua. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and the god-slaying eagle disappeared. He landed outside Emperor Abyss City and looked at the frozen sea Wuxia and Li Jiuchong. He clenched his fists and a cold light shot out from his eyes. Big brother, Brother Wuxia's source was destroyed. Senior brother only has a little bit of life left. Brother Feng Wuxia died in battle. Di Longtian pursed his lips and said while holding back his tears. Huff, 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 Yi Qinghan breathed heavily. He didn't expect such a big thing to happen after he left. Si Wuxia's source was the golden bloodline. Feng Wuxia had comprehended the profound of wind and was evolving. He didn't expect them to be gone just like that. Li Jiuchong was frozen and couldn't be sensed anymore. Without a true top-grade saint medicine, he couldn't be revived. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and glared at the hidden experts. The cold light in his eyes could even kill emperor-level experts. He reached out and grabbed the parrot in his palm. His divine sense entered the parrot's sea of consciousness and sensed that he had already left the monarch domain for 2 years. There was a huge battle in the endless universe. Almost all the quasi-emperors and false emperors were wiped out. The divine martial realm was almost broken, and there were not many immortal realm experts left. However, these hidden experts suddenly appeared and tried to steal the fruits of Tao. You forced me to go crazy. I'll go crazy for once. Yi Qinghan grinned bitterly. He looked at Nangong Powu and the others and said in a hoarse voice, "I'm going to change the rules. The strong can take on the challenge. I'll be the first challenger. Since so many of you are here for my insane sect, then come at me together." Boom! Yi Qinghan stepped into the battlefield. His figure soared into the sky. Borrowing the momentum of heaven and earth, he raised his saber and pointed it at Nangong Powu. He said coldly, before that, I'll clean up this place first. I'll use your body as a sacrifice to the billions of lives on Owl War Planet. Nangong Powu frowned as he looked at Yi Qinghan. He realized that he had changed a lot and became more profound. His cultivation had also risen to the 5th level of the Immortal Gate. He had only left for 2 years. No matter how talented Jiutian was, his cultivation speed couldn't be so fast. At this moment, he suddenly felt that if he fought with Yi Qinghan, it was unknown who would live and who would die. Nangong Powu wouldn't do something he wasn't confident in, so he didn't want to enter the array. If he fought outside, even if he lost, he would still have a chance to escape. Nangong Powu looked at the indifferent Yi Qinghan and smiled. He mocked, "Master, we haven't seen each other for 2 years. How have you been? You haven't seen your disciple for so long, so shouldn't we have a good chat? Why do you have to make a move? I don't have a disciple like you, Nangong Powu. When you planned to kill Xiao Zhanqing, you should have known that you would die in my hands. Since you don't dare to come in, what's the use of this array?" Yi Qinghan stepped out of the array and coldly glanced at Diwu Guangshan and the others. He said, "This is a personal grudge between me and the Tao of martial mutilation. Those who are not involved, retreat into the Imperial Abyss City. Otherwise, don't say that I didn't warn you if you die here." Mu Yu Tianchen and the others led the Guangzong and retreated towards the Imperial Abyss City. Since Yi Qinghan dared to say this, his explosive power would definitely be able to kill an ordinary superclass expert. Staying here would make him feel restrained and unable to use his full strength. Zhe Qin didn't retreat, neither did the Yinyang school. Shen Ke didn't leave, and neither did Diwu Guangshan. Gu Qingyu and Jian Qinshu stayed. Qitian Monkey King, Zi Tian, and Long Qiong didn't leave either. However, Yang Zhan took Zhan Gu and returned to the Zhan family's Dao realm. Yi Qinghan, I don't care about your personal grudge. Return the heavenly scripture of the Dao Si to me, and I will leave immediately, Diwu Guangshan said coldly. Yi Qinghan looked at Diwu Guangshan, the biological brother of the Diwu Great Emperor, and replied indifferently, "It's easy to get the heavenly scripture of the Dao Si. Twist Diwu Tianhe's head off and give it to me. Then, return Wuxia's golden origin, and I will give you the heavenly scripture of the Dao Si with both hands." Otherwise, what? Diwu Guangshan asked in disdain. "Otherwise, I will use the heavenly scripture of the Dao Si to forcefully wipe the Diwu family from the endless universe." Yi Qinghan hated this Diwu family to the extreme, especially Diwu Tianhe. First, he wanted to snatch Emperor Yi. Now, he forced Si Wuxia to burn his origin vitality. This was simply unforgivable. "It seems like you are forcing me to kill you." Diwu Guangshan's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he stared at Yi Qinghan. "There will be a battle." Yi Qinghan didn't say anything else and directly walked towards Nangong Powu with his saber. Ding! Nangong Powu summoned his battle spear and made the first move. Path of the crippled martial arts, crippled man style. Boom! The spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged, directly shattering space and time. It turned into a poisonous dragon that drilled through everything and charged towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan held the saber hilt with both hands and crossed his legs. Azure dragon body activated, dragon blood boiled, metal origin erupted, wood origin wrapped around his body, and dark elements poured out. He fully unleashed his battle strength, wanting to destroy mountains and rivers with one saber strike. Heavy frenzy strike. All laws submit. Hua! The saber cut through the clouds, causing the mountains and rivers to tremble. Terrifying murderous intent filled space and time, covering the sky and the sun. Yi Qinghan's aura was majestic, and he was extremely domineering. The saber tip ruthlessly clashed with the tip of the spear. CICI, the heavy frenzy saber and the battle spear clashed. Some overconfident emperor-level martial artists' eardrums were instantly pierced. They coughed out blood and were sent flying. Even their souls were directly wiped out. Boom! The aftershock surged for 10,000 miles and swept towards the Emperor Abyss City. The Monarch Array was activated, and divine light rushed into the void. Fortunately, only the defensive Monarch Array was activated, otherwise, these people would have been attacked by the Monarch Array. Tsing tsing tsing, Nangong Powu felt as if his spear had clashed with the Monarch Dao body. His blood and qi were surging, and the web between his thumb and forefinger cracked. Fresh blood flowed out, and he kept on retreating. He was shocked by Yi Qinghan's strength. Die for me. I'm going to hang your corpse on Owl War Star and let everyone rest in peace. Yi Qinghan roared, and his waist sank. The inch strike exploded with tenfold strength, and the heavy frenzy saber cleaved Nangong Powu's battle spear away. Hua! After the heavy frenzy saber cleaved Nangong Powu's battle spear, it broke through the void and charged towards Nangong Powu's true body. Nangong Powu was shocked, and he kept on retreating, hoping to avoid Yi Qinghan's terrifying saber strike. Xiu 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 xiu. Yi Qinghan danced crazily, and his killing intent soared to the sky. The saber light split open the earth, and its aura was majestic, shocking everyone. Nangong Powu was able to kill Xian Hualong, which proved his battle prowess. But now, he was being suppressed by Yi Qinghan, which meant that Yi Qinghan's battle prowess had reached the extreme. Boom! Nangong Powu's Jin Yuan poured out, and it gathered in his fist. A golden glove appeared on his right fist, and he suddenly punched towards Yi Qinghan's heavy frenzy saber. The two attacks clashed, and the earth trembled, setting off 10,000 layers of qi waves, and dust filled the air. Pfff. The bones in Nangong Powu's hand were shattered, and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Yi Qinghan's aura was finally stopped, and he took a step back. But this didn't affect his desire to kill Nangong Powu. Heavy frenzy heaven punishing style. Boom! A saber slashed through the clouds and mountains, and the sky was torn apart. The sound of the void being torn apart was endless, which made people's hair stand on end. Zai Qin squinted his eyes and stared at the two's trajectory. Their speed was too fast, and there were afterimages everywhere. His eyes couldn't keep up with them, and he could only use his divine sense to lock them down. He thought to himself, Yi Qinghan's martial arts are full of flaws, but it actually makes me feel like I don't know where to start. His power is too strong, and his speed is as fast as lightning. His opponent has no choice but to face him head-on. This is his advantage, and also Nangong Powu's weakness, Tao of incomplete martial arts, incomplete martial style. Boom! Nangong Powu turned into a heavenly war spear, and with the speed of lightning, he clashed with the heavy frenzy saber. Immediately, the sky fell and the earth cracked. Yi Qinghan directly smashed Nangong Powu into the void. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was truly fighting against the heavens and the earth. He stomped on the ground and rushed into the void, ruthlessly stomping on Nangong Powu's body. His left hand flipped the clouds, and his right hand covered the rain. Nangong Powu was bathed in a river of blood as he was swept away by the qi waves. His face was full of anger as he unwillingly roared, Yi Qinghan, when we meet next time, I will gather all my avatars and kill you with my spear. Hua! Nangong Powu immediately escaped, tearing through the void and disappearing in a flash. Yi Qinghan was indifferent. He waved his hand, and the heavy frenzy saber disappeared. A divine bow appeared in his hand, and he stood at the peak of the sky. He pulled the bow and shot the sun. All the blood vessels in his body swelled, and his strength reached the maximum. His Jin Yuan condensed into a sky-splitting divine arrow. Xiu, the divine arrow broke through the void and also disappeared. Everyone's pupils shrank as they stared at the silent void. They felt as if a golden dragon was galloping through the void. Hua! Ah! Cracks constantly appeared in the sky. Not long after, a mournful scream echoed through the mountains and rivers. Nangong Powu fell out of the void, his body pierced through. Blood gushed out like a fountain, and his vitality had mostly dissipated. Yi Qinghan had just summoned the heavy frenzy saber once more and stepped towards Nangong Powu. His lips revealed a trace of killing intent as he roared, "Nangong Powu, die for me." Everyone was shocked. This was too powerful. If an elite like Nangong Powu wanted to leave, no one would be able to stop them. But Yi Qinghan had actually blocked them. He's become so strong. Long Qiong, Qitian Monkey King, and the others glanced at each other. They were secretly shocked. Before Yi Qinghan left, whether it was Long Qiong or Qitian Monkey King, they could have instantly killed him. But now, it was already good enough that they could barely win. Yi Qinghan could already stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Zhe Kan was shocked. 2 years ago, when he had sent off Yi Qinghan, he had joined forces with Emperor Yi, but they still weren't his match. Now, Yi Qinghan alone could kill Nangong Powu's true body. Even if Nangong Powu wasn't at his peak strength, and there were still 8 avatars outside, this combat strength was enough to explain everything. Yi Qinghan, you will regret this. Nangong Powu bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. His face was deathly pale as he allowed the other saber to approach him. He immediately formed a seal, and the moment Yi Qinghan arrived above his head, he disappeared. The heavy frenzy saber directly split apart his phantom, but no blood spurted out. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.